It is 9:30 on a Thursday night, and you are tuned in to Beltway Radio and Beyond, which can mean one and only thing. This is ChipChat. Welcome to ChipChat, everybody. I'm Chip. Who are you, Tez?
You just told him, brother.
Welcome back. We were off last week, but what a week to come back.
I don't know. At least, some things are still standing.
We'll cover that.
Not the governor of Texas.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Yeah,
Nice. See, I'm rubbing off on
you. Maybe this is how you know I've had a rough one. Yeah, that's fine. Scrub that. Get that out of there. Yep. My apologies to all my.
Unlike Greg Abbott, you can always walk that back.
Oh, God. Nah, there you go. Exactly.
All right. So this is a special edition of Chip Chat because we have a guest this week. Charlie's going to be here. Over the last week, a large event featuring a rambling orange-tinted person took place, and also Trump gave a long speech to Congress.
Yeah.
But the first one is why Charlie's here. There's been a lot of news, of course. Muriel is courting the white vote in D.C. And let's see. Roberts and ACB gamble with their lives. Elon's kid got boogers everywhere. And the O's and the Nats made a deal over television.
It's finally happened.
Finally. They no longer need to be tied to your stupid team.
That's fine. That's perfectly fine. I mean, enjoy. It's a lot of money that you guys made over these last few years.
That was ours in the first place, but then
no. This is a
expos here.
Take that up with C League and whoever ended up going to Boston. I'm blanking on his name to take over that, and Jeffrey Lurie going to Miami to take that. That was a huge that the way that happened. That's baseball because Bud Selig didn't want to own the Expos anymore.
I understand. I was there for it. I remember, but Anyway, also, speaking of sports, I don't know. You can't really see it too well, but
there you go.
I got my dad went to the Bullets game and got me the reversible.
Is that the City Series of it?
City Series.
That looks very nice.
Baseball jerseys for our basketball team, which makes no sense, but they're cool.
I mean, but calling that thing a basketball team. I don't know if you watch them. Yeah, it is unbearable.
Yeah, I haven't purposefully tuned into a game unless there was literally nothing else on.
It's bad. It's bad.
I would rather watch Stadium Series golf, like
Stadium Series golf,
or whatever they call that thing where they're playing indoors.
Yeah, but
it's
bad basketball. It's not
good.
I haven't had the chance to see them with Smart and Middleton. I mean, those seem like regular. I feel bad for those players because those are like players who've been on championship team caliber teams, and now they're
stuck here. Earlier in the season at work, they were like, "Hey, we're giving away tickets to the Bullets game." I was like, "All right, who fucked up? Why are we getting punished? Like, what did we do to have this inflicted on us?"
This is how bad it is for me at this point with them. I go to see because I know, but like those great players, like I've since the beginning last year, because Cleveland was good last year, and I wanted to see what that looked like in person, looked really good. But this year, the first game, I was like, I want to see Cleveland. And obviously, I think Donovan Mitchell almost went for 50. But it's just good, like Evan Mobley is insane. But now, I go to see seeing Joker play. Like I'm about to go watch. And I used to hate that fan as well.
I hated that too. People go to watch the other teams whoop our.
But here's the thing, though. When I'm in there, I cheer. I still cheer and I clap. I say DC3, even though we end up losing. Or I tell everybody around us, I'm like, if you have, that's wrong. If I see in the third quarter or we like the middle of the third quarter, like it's close, I say, remember, we don't have the firepower to continue this. We're going to lose in the fourth quarter, and we always lose in the fourth quarter. However, I did see us beat Ant Edwards and the Wolves, and he also went for damn near 50, but we still won. So
Yeah,
and we beat Joker too. We beat. It was Serbian night too. I felt so bad for the people who were dancing and whatnot, and then they came to see and they lost. So I've actually seen out of the whatever 6 wins they have. It's more than that, but whatever 6 wins they have, it's not many more.
13 now,
maybe 13. All right, but I've seen like 2 wins, so I should consider myself lucky.
You're good luck.
This is 980. I don't know how to turn into this to the start. I don't know. We're talking Wizards basketball.
Yeah, whatever. They have too many. They keep changing their call letters. Sports Talk 980.
It's anyways, that's a different whole. We could do a whole show on that.
No, we don't have time for that. Speaking of sports radio, if you are in the sports radio world and you are listening, though, call J. Scott Smith. He is available.
Yes,
and you can probably get a pretty good deal on him until he wins another Murrow. So, whatever.
Get him now. Exactly. And exactly. It could be whatever. I think he does voiceover work, right?
He does voiceover work as well. But we'll have to ask Charlie when the Emmys are, because he is still nominated for his Emmy. And so then if he wins it, it'll be really funny how that went down.
They got to mail it to you that way. So you can't.
That's right.
I don't know if you can't have it. Where do you accept it? But, anyways.
We'll find out. So, all right. Speaking of Charlie, he's going to be here after we do the intro. We're going to talk about some stuff. So, do you have a word?
I get it's kind of, but it's like 2 words, but it's
okay. Well, I've got one. I'm ready. Well, it's also mine's a couple words, but it works together.
Let's see if this all works together.
It all works. Let's see. So, sit back, grab some
pink slips.
It's FEMA credit card time. You're listening to the best show, the only show, Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond. Sweeps. All right, welcome back to Chip Chat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I am your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
It's what's popping, yeah.
He got excited and then he in the chat and he wrecked it all.
Oh, sorry. That was a good.
Yeah, it was good. We did a little DJing to ourselves, but now we got to do some radio. So without further ado, let's welcome Charlie to the group. Hey, Charlie, how's it going?
That's going all right. How about you, buddy?
We are here. That's about as good as I can say. My therapist says I'm supposed to be a little more positive and qualified when I say that, but that's about as well as I can handle it these days.
Yeah, let him give you that. Yeah. Let him come back with better advice when he's a doctor.
Well, she is a doctor, but she went to Michigan State, so a little iffy there.
Oh, look at you expanding. That's insane. That's trust.
We've spent years getting past this. Okay. I don't only wear Michigan stuff when I log in for my sessions to troll her. I also occasionally wear Washington football team stuff. I'm trying. I'm building bridges.
Go blue.
There you go.
Oh, and also you better have the you keep interrupting me on hot. Keep it close because we already know where this is gonna go.
We're gonna need that.
Have it close. Have it very close.
All right. So we do have a little bit of precursor information here as we're going to discuss the not State of the Union that it was. So current president and former white shorts model Donald Trump gave an address to a joint session of Congress this week, which lasted more than 100 minutes, or exactly 1/10 of a Scaramucci. During the speech, Democrats protested by wearing colors and holding up signs with words in a bad attempt to force Trump to read. Congressman Al Green even got up to yell at him, and while the two men in their late 70s tried to yell over each other, their care nurses exchanged smiling glances and clinked their flasks together. Trump's speech went on for what seemed like forever. At one point, J.D. Vance had to look up from French kissing the leather highback he was sitting on to make sure that Trump was still speaking. The speech was riddled with falsehoods, lies, and more bullshit than Ted Cruz can stuff into his skinny jeans on his way to Cancun. Seriously, he said nothing that was true or made any sense, except, well, okay, that's not true. He did claim to have never heard of Lesotho, which I think that's true. He has never heard of that country.
It's one of those countries that we only remember exists during the Parade of Nations at the Olympics.
That's true.
True.
The Supreme Court was there to watch the show, of course, but everyone could see that they were just playing Tetris underneath their robes. At one point, retired Justice Anthony Kennedy had to hide when Trump pointed out his cousin Bobby because he did not want to catch brainworm measles. Trump finally finished his rambling, incoherent speech by inviting the crowd to sing several rounds of his favorite Russian folk songs, while Kid Rock DJ'd and Elon tossed spare children to MTG for her to snack on. I assume both of you maybe watched some of this. I
listened to it. I refused to watch it, and I probably shouldn't have. My mother is the one who she's like, "You're not tuned into this to see it," and I was like, "Oh, now I'm not gonna watch it." But I mean, like, where do we? What I don't know. What's your like top 5 or top not 5?
What 5 things did you do this week? Yeah.
Where do you want to go with? Transgender mice, Social Security, people 300 years. Where do you want to go? Pick which one?
Taz, I gotta tell you that hits so close to home for me because my mom is now a bigger news watcher than I. I mean, it's funny after what everybody was saying after the election in November, they were saying, oh, we had to withdraw from news. I'm saying that was me 8 years ago. After 2016, I had to withdraw, and that's when my at least my news watching went down dramatically. And then it kind of went back up during the pandemic because what the fuck else was I going to do? And it was an election, but then it went back down. But then it went back down again. But yeah, no, my mom was like texting me, going, "Oh, he did this. Oh, he did this," and it's just like, and I'm just like, "Ma, you breathe." And I'm like, I feel like she was probably I feel about her the way she felt about me when I was in the height of my political obsession and stuff. Right. So it's like, but I mean, she does have legitimate concerns, but she's also retired. But she's also, I mean, we're also watching a man who is and a whole political ideology that seems hell-bent on turning the DMV into a modern version of Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, complete with all the death and destruction.
Right? Yeah, that's it. It's
that's what they want. That's what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean, to Tez's question of like which thing. Okay, so I did try to watch some of this, but I was kind of laughing at it.
Secret Service babies. We got.
Yeah,
or children. I don't know. I
was disappointed Al Green didn't try to hit someone with his cane.
Yeah, let's flip it, and because that's how you start the Civil War.
Like it's the fucking cane at the Apollo. Like he's gonna try and grab Trump and pull him off the damn thing.
Well, if he was really gonna do like the Dan Webster sort of thing, and like start a fight, I tried to watch. I was watching. I eventually fell asleep.
Parliament videos,
which I think that right. I think that most people fell asleep if they were watching it. Certainly most of the Senate did, but that's just because they're in their mid-70s.
And they don't know anything, yeah.
Yeah, my wife was watching with me, and she was like losing her collective, I don't know like what to call it, but like she kept getting knocked off kilter by the dumb shit that he would say. And she'd be like, what? That's not it. And I'm like, there's no point. Just like, it doesn't matter. It's a fire hose of bullshit at the maximum level. Yeah, 360-year-old people getting Social Security.
But he kept going up. I love it.
Kept going.
It's unique to the point where it's like, oh, this is what people want out of the president. And like, I think maybe not even the president, but it does feel like the country is looking for like these charismatic and being able to captive. And because like, he's captivating in a very like odd way, but it doesn't change the fact that people want, like, it's clear what's happening. And I'm watching this like, oh, people must be eating this up.
Yeah, they were. And it reminded me very much of like the Terry Crews State of the Union from Idiocracy, where he's just saying the most insane shit, and everybody's cheering, like, and almost by rote, you know, like he said things that were verifiably stupid, and like it had happened to the people who were in the room, and they're all like cheering, yeah.
And I was listening on WMU, and like they were breaking into certain things to be like unprecedented. Like certain parts of this was like obviously like the sergeant of arms removing somebody is unprecedented. Like that hasn't, like, modern history has not happened.
Sure.
Like in this, like in any of these, because these addresses also, there wasn't a bipartisan group that brought him there. I don't think either out. Like there usually is a bipartisan group that walks you out.
Everything that we're used to in the sort of standard way that these addresses, whether it's a State of the Union officially or not, didn't happen here, and it probably won't ever happen with Trump. I mean,
yeah,
you know, Biden kind of got a little into this when he jerked the Republicans around in his last two State of the Unions, where he like said something, got them to groan about it, and then he like hit them with the zinger. But Trump just like outright stood up there and pointed at people, and he's like, "You're not going to cheer for me. I could cure cancer, and you wouldn't cheer for me," you know.
Because he is cancer.
But that was also true that like Obama could have stood up there and delivered puppies that cure cancer and shit gold to every American, and the Republicans would have booed him and voted against it.
But there was still, even at times during that administration, where there were certain things like applause lines that everybody would get up, because there is still, maybe people will ask, well, why does that matter, right? But the whole idea around all of this shit is like you kind of have to believe in it for this to even exist. And like, I understand, obviously, there are, I don't know, pick how like infinite issues with this place, and we're not where it needs to be after hundreds of years. But like at a certain point, like this whole idea around like the United States of America and this nation, right? It has to kind of be a shared idea, right? And that is no longer. It's clearly that is not the case.
Well,
some people believe, there are people in that chamber, in the Senate and in Congress, that do believe in it, but they've obviously given up to this. Like, this is some Stalin shit, like stupid Stalin. That's what it is. It's like stupid Stalin. It's stupid Stalin. It's not. It is. That's so weird to listen to that address.
It is stupid Stalin, I think, is a good way to put this, because it's not. You're right that everybody needs to believe in the idea for the idea to continue to exist. And of course, you have a modern Republican Party and a Trump Republican Party that does not believe in the idea. And so if there were going to be sort of joint applause lines, they just aren't going to happen. And the Democrats, for their part, are just like woefully ill-equipped here. You know,
they never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
They're in like the worst possible position, because
that's what I was going to say.
Because it's all because at least this specific event is all performative theater, and they're in this position where people want them to do something, but they can't really do anything of consequence.
Right.
Exactly. And it's a shitty situation to be in, and it's tough to find anything that's just like, other than just, in my opinion, just not going. That may be the best thing to do, because it's like, because all the performative stuff looks silly. Yeah. I don't think it's something that's going to hurt them long term or anything. No. But it just looks silly. And I'm always thinking to myself, okay, what's the end game here? Like, is there anything you can do? Like, I do think there's, like, sometimes I kind of think there's merit to, like, when I keep on hearing people talking about what James Carville's saying about how just let them fail, let them dig their own grave. And to a degree, it's like, okay, I kind of understand that, but you can't just, but then you're just going to be like, people are going like, you're just sitting there and letting it happen.
Yeah, there's real lives.
There's stuff between the rock and a hard place, and there's no winning.
Yeah,
but they also don't do themselves any favor by looking absolutely moronic at every possible.
Yeah, so organized. Charlie's hit this right on the head. Is that I keep hearing people complaining, why won't anybody do anything? What exactly do you expect Jeffries or somebody to do? They have no lever to pull, and when it gets to the shutdown, which next week we're gonna have congressional reporter Matt Laszlo on the show. He's gonna preview what we're expecting to be a shutdown at that point. That's maybe the first chance that Jeffries has to flex anything and let the Republicans have to marshal their own caucus to pass a CR or anything really, and just say, look, because all the last votes that Johnson has delivered were all basically Democratic votes with a handful of Republicans thrown in. So, that's maybe the thing to pull. But people are, the Democrats look weak. Where's the response? Who's the leader? Look, this dumb video they posted where they were like, choose your fighter, and it was everybody doing the like Tekken, thing or what. That's stupid.
Oh yeah, that was a TikTok trend for a while.
Yeah, that's stupid though. It looks stupid and it doesn't prove anything.
I'm glad they didn't get to me. Oh, thank God.
It's interesting. I was watching something a couple months ago, and it was this person talking about politicians using TikTok, and he was saying that one of his favorite political TikTokers is actually Senator Ed Markey, but it's because he doesn't try to do the meme shit. He actually looks like he's just like he really doesn't understand it, but he's just talking. Yeah. But it's just honestly refreshing that he's just talking, and he's just not trying to do any of the fancy shit.
Yeah, well, that's the hallmark of this show.
Because
but look,
nothing fancy about anything happens here.
They're doing.
I'm sorry, I mispronounced his name. Ed Mackey.
Right, they're doing that stuff, and then like they're going into court and winning, at various levels of court. Yeah. But the reality is, Trump isn't going to respect these court orders. He's just going to barrel right through them, and has already done so. And then Roberts and ACB had to get involved, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But like, this dumb criticism where it's like, well, who's going to respond? We're all looking for leaders. Okay, we've got leaders, right? We've got Jeffries, we've got Crockett, we've got people out there doing things and saying things. We've got Murphy. There's people to turn to, but what is it that the left is expecting them to do? That's a fundamental misunderstanding of the situation.
Well, I think it's more of a fundamental understanding of the way the government works, right? And just like how no matter these people were voted in, they have a majority in both houses, and this is kind of how it goes. Now, the issue that I have is that there can be some type of innovative solutions in the sense of branding, whatever the message is going to be. And that is the issue that I have with it, is that nothing feels organized at all. Like there's not a collective movement, and it's like, all right, this shit is crazy. We understand that. As congressional Democrats, this is what we're going to focus on. The governors, right? Like for the governors, right? And that should be simple and plain, right? We need to dip into federalism and protect whatever the hell we can do, which I think is happening, sure. I think that is happening. But the issue is still, and I also not to throw the super blame on this, but this is the bigger issue, is that we had an issue where we could not communicate the wins that Joe Biden had. He wasn't cutting those ribs. Like he did a few, but he wasn't not at the level of spending that went out the door. He wasn't, and we're still in that same thing. We don't know who can communicate the message, and there are people. I think Jasmine Crockett. I think
Crockett's a great spokesperson for the situation.
Especially when we talk about all the time of just being like blunt about what this is, and like with the feedback you like. There we go. Like, don't be afraid of it. That's the real base.
Yeah, I think I get what you're saying. I mean, we're all basically waiting for something to gain a little traction. I don't think that there's any reason to rush it or
people are gonna. But that's the point of the people, though. The people are supposed to do that, right? They're supposed to complain. They're supposed to complain. They're supposed to. Okay.
I'm sorry. Are you saying they shouldn't be Russian?
Shouldn't be rushing into it.
Hey, there we go.
You cleaned right out with that one, didn't you?
Oh yeah. Oh God.
So I think that it's just reasonable to, like Carville is saying, let these guys fail on themselves. I mean, they are doing that. They're going to keep doing that. The incompetence we've said that on this show so many times that like one of the things that protected the country from being ruined by Trump the first time around was their total level of incompetence. In this case, we can't necessarily count on that.
That's not there. That is not. Well, it's clear that there is not.
We knew that was going to be the problem. We knew that was going to be the issue going in.
They learned.
That's what Project 2025 was all about. It was about eliminating the incompetence and actually implementing this radical agenda.
Except that, as we're seeing, and as we will talk about later, some of that incompetence is basically like built in. They can't seem to work their way around it because of the thing that makes them MAGA also makes them incapable of cooperative behavior. And so then they start stepping on each other's toes and getting into stupid pissing contests, and that ends up kind of derailing things a little bit. That's maybe an opportunity for us to wedge something in there. I don't know. But I don't think that there's any reason to really rush the issue, as Charlie pointed out. I think it's okay to just let these guys fuck their own situation up as bad as possible and then wait to climb up out of the ashes.
But the climbing
time, do you want it to be it doesn't how does it look when these people are killing the Republic and you're sitting back and doing nothing? It's the catch-22 of the whole thing.
Yeah, that's the point of it. And it's like these things that, and we talked about this, I feel like a couple weeks ago. What's already happened is a generation to try to fix, right?
Yeah.
Like some of these things are not like we just turn them back on. And like, and maybe though, and this is like a lot of points here, but like maybe at the end of this, because it is going to just continue to burn for 4 years. I mean, even if you get a big, huge midterm win, you're just going to be trying to bring him in and to hold him account. That's not happening. No, it's over with. That's
and with all the power that they're trying to divert over to the executive,
right?
Just makes that and hell, it doesn't even matter if Trump croaks because Vance is going to continue the same fucking thing.
Yeah. Exactly, and this continues on, and it's just that maybe. There's now what ends up happening after is it's been ruined so much. Our credibility is done that it's like this new rebuilding again. Maybe this is another one of these refounding moments that we're gonna have to do. And but at the end of the day, and we say this all the time, and I'm not trying to scare people, we know this all ends in violence.
Oh yeah,
it's violent in various ways, which but also what the thing that we keep saying, or that I keep saying, is how can I accelerate this? What can I, how much gas can I throw on this fire and watch these VA hospitals in rural America close and watch these guys all, turn around and go, I didn't think he meant me when he said he was going to deport all of these. It's like, feed me these stories. I want to see this, and I want to see the suffering be profound, because I think that's the only way that we do get a rebuilding, is that it's got to grind this stuff down and really cast these ideas so far away. But in the meantime, like you said, things that we're going to have to fix and to reestablish a new way of doing things. Germany has to go into debt, spend money to build their military. That is a sentence I'm personally not super comfortable with.
They're probably going to have to acquire nuclear weapons.
They are probably going to.
Yeah.
And I think we're talking about a precarious situation that those of us who are from the post-war concept of how the world works are uncomfortable with, and we will need some help navigating this, and I don't know where that's going to come from.
And also you should be uncomfortable with it, because that same Germany also has a super right-wing party that is not that far away.
It keeps on getting more and more. And we might have this situation in France because despite losing at the presidential level, National Rally keeps being a top party in the country and continuously getting more and more support.
But to their credit, Bardella fled CPAC when Bannon gave a Nazi salute. He was like, that's a little too Nazi even for me, and I'm a French Nazi.
But the ADL cautioned us to give him a chance to explain himself.
Yeah, I'm sure. Right.
Yeah, anyway, so that's insane. But the problem is, right, we always expecting like Europe is going to Europe, right? And the whole time, like eventually that might happen again. But it was never that America was going to like Russia. Like, we never thought that, like, it was like, oh, hey.
Well, we were mocking Mitt Romney for his talking about Russia being the greatest geopolitical threat. And to his credit, turned out to be pretty spot on about how big a threat they were.
Yeah, he was right. Mitt was right. And this, yeah, I don't think anybody ever conceived, nobody, and certainly post-Reagan.
Certainly not from the Republican Party.
Yeah, certainly not
conservative. And this is the thing, like the whole idea of conservatism is like, hey, we kind of like the way shit is, and we don't want to change. And if we're gonna change, we're gonna do it as slow as possible. These people are on some weird like revolution type thing, and that's not conservatism at all.
Well, it never was, but I
no, the initial like they were like initial conservatism is like, hey, no, like black people, they're not slaves anymore, but we don't want you to do too much.
That was the point Plotkin was making by saying that this is making Reagan roll in his grave. I mean, we are in this place where here the three of us are praising a Cheney, talking about how much better at foreign policy Ronald fucking Reagan was. And, you know, it is a...
Where's George W. Bush?
It is a topsy-turvy world.
Yeah, because this is some weird shit.
Bush is a war criminal. Cheney's a war criminal. Rumsfeld's a war criminal.
And never forget, Liz Cheney she's still wrong about a lot of things.
Oh, most
maybe 99.8%.
This is a woman who never met a war she didn't like.
No, no question there. But for all of that,
read her book.
Yeah, for all of this stuff, while
what's a book?
Yeah,
that's usually Chip's
nerd.
It's funny because last time we were on here, we were talking about Melania's book, and remember, Tez, you went to the website of the publisher.
Oh no, we turned that into a full-on joke, Charlie.
Oh my god, that was beautiful. That was a great moment.
That's turned into a whole bit.
Tez turned that into an entire game show. You need to go back and watch.
The best thing is, as long as they're in business, they're going to keep putting out more.
Oh, the next 4 years are going to be insane. I've been letting it breathe but we have a couple weeks. Last week's show, thank God, Alice was like.
2 weeks ago, we had an actual writer on the show, and Tez made her play a game where he read out some of those titles, and she had to choose which one was a real one and which one was not.
Oh,
and
man,
it was fantastic.
That's beautiful.
Just as I brought these up, I'm going to go with the ones that I enjoyed the most. We had South Afrikaner Musk, Dutch natural deodorant recipes. And then we had Flying for Peanuts, Tough Deals, Steep Bargains, and Revolution in the Skies. And then we had Kufis and Yarmulkes, Self-Hate Stories by Herschel Walker and Stephen Miller. Just to recap one of
you broke Charlie. Poor Charlie.
Honestly, that last one, I cannot wait for the movie adaptation. Cannot wait.
Oh my god.
Where were we?
All right, speaking of movies, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the thing that the reason that we asked Charlie to be here for the thing that he is the expert in. The Oscars were this week. So we're going to talk to him about that, which I'm sure he has all kinds of interesting things to tell us. And we have a few questions of our own, so we'll see how that all goes. So we'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweet. Oh, God.
We're in the middle of a hostile government takeover. I wanna talk about it, but I'll be late for work. And if you're saying, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government takeover. Hostile government. Late for This ain't about left and right, need to worry about up and down. This ain't about left and right, you better stop messing around. This ain't about left and right, need to worry about up and down. And if you're saying, wait a minute, do we have to stop this? We had one, but you didn't want that lady in office. Hostile government, take over. Hostile government, take over. Hostile government, leap forward. Hostile government, take over. Hostile government, leap forward.
Are we back? We're back. Maybe we're back.
We're back.
We're back. Welcome back to Chip Chat. I'm your host, Chip. With me is Tez.
What's poppin', y'all?
That's the theme song of our current existence, I think. So, yeah, Trump wasn't the only misshapen white guy to go on and on to an uninterested audience this week. Conan O'Brien also hosted the Oscars, and to tell us all about it, our favorite awards show hero and member of several academies, Charlie is here.
Charlie, even though he's been here, he's not. It's not.
Yeah, I know, but that's his official intro because he's like an expert.
Yeah, one of the big question is, why am I here if Charlie's here? I usually take this. This is my day off.
Like, you already had a day off last week.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, they usually call
Usually
me,
I'm never
usually ask me to come then. Yeah,
exactly. But I'm
That's
glad
like
to hear.
one bit 2 weeks ago, and he needs 3 weeks off.
I got it. This is my mind needs a rest to try to get another one out. But anyways,
so Charlie is a expert at picking who wins all the awards.
Yes.
I think he did very well this year. We will find out. But before we get into that, I actually watched, which I want a medal for because I never watch these things. But it was on early, right?
yeah. They started at 7:00, which is even great when you think about the West Coast where they actually are. They started at 4:00.
wow.
So yeah, they started pretty early. Usually they either would start at 8 or 7:30, but good on them for starting early because they needed it.
Yeah, it was. And also maybe I'm just, not great at this, but it felt like the show itself was kind of like poorly produced. Like it had a lot of glitchy dead air kind of like.
You watching on Hulu?
No, I was watching it live, but it just seemed like.
No, Hulu streamed it live though.
No, I know, but I was watching on ABC, and I just it seemed to me like whoever was doing the stage direction was missing, cues or something. I don't know what to call it, but it just didn't have the slickness of some of previous Oscars. Or maybe I'm crazy. I don't know.
I thought it worked. I didn't really notice that. The only times that I really noticed anything is when occasionally they would the censor would cut in if someone said something naughty, because that always interrupts the flow of a speech or so. And so I definitely, but I didn't feel that. I wasn't feeling that.
Okay, well then I'm just crazy. And Ben Stiller's thing about the tech guys keeping the world going, that was very funny. That's
very good. It's always hit or miss with Ben Stiller's bits at the Oscars, but that one worked. That's probably one of the best ones he's done.
Yeah. Okay, so Charlie, tell us about the Oscars and how things went, and also very importantly, how did you do in your scoring?
Well, it was a big night for Brooklyn sex workers who impulsively marry the son of Russian oligarchs. Anora won big. Best Picture, directing, lead actress for Mikey Madison. You might know her better as the woman in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood who gets a can of dog food hurled at her face and then set on fire by Leonardo DiCaprio with a flamethrower. That's who that is.
All class.
Original screenplay and film editing. Big wins. Big win. Sean Baker, the director of the movie, who also produced, wrote, and edited it, is the first person ever to win 4 Oscars in one night for the same movie. Walt Disney did it for several projects back in the 40s or the 50s because he was winning everything at that point. He is the man who has the most Oscars, period, with 22 or 23. Because a lot of times back in the early days, things would go to studio heads. So as head of the Walt Disney Company, sure, he would receive a lot of those. But yeah, so Big Night for Honora, which is it's the third film that's won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival to win Best Picture. The first being Marty back in 1955, and then Parasite in 2019. Elsewhere, The Brutalist, which is a movie that all my cinephile friends basically creamed their jeans for. But I did not. I'm like one of the few people who did not like that movie. That won 3, including Best Actor for Adrian Brody, who I believe is just finishing up his speech right now. By the way, he now has the record for the longest acceptance speech ever. This was a record with, I believe it was 5 minutes and 40 seconds. That was a record that had been maintained since 1942. When Greer Garson went on for 5.5 minutes when she won Best Actress for Mrs. Miniver. But even with all the like bloviated egos of the Oscars over the years, no one had ever topped that until Adrian Brody. So kudos to him.
Bob Iger's like, we need to sell ads. Shut up.
Yeah.
We're here to sell ads out here, okay? We need to taking up good ad time.
And elsewhere, Kieran Culkin won Best Supporting Actor for A Real Pain. Fantastic.
And he gets to have a fourth kid, right?
What's that?
He gets to have a fourth kid.
Yeah. Well, he brought up his Emmy speech from last year when he won his Emmy for Succession, and he said, "Hey, give me a third kid." And then apparently that night when they were walking back to their car, and she said, "Oh God, I did promise you that." And he said, "Well, what I really want is 4." And she said, "Okay, if you win an Oscar, I will give you a 4th kid." And you could see her in the audience going, "Oh God, I did say that." That was one of the best moments of the night. Was the back and forth between him and her, the reactions between the two of them, priceless.
That was my favorite moment right there.
Yeah, no, that was a great moment. And then you also had Zoe Saldana, the great Zoe Saldana, winning Best Supporting Actress for Amelia Perez. One of the probably the most controversial movie we've had at the Oscars in many years. But she was not affected by that controversy at all because she is a total pro. First of all, she's amazing in the movie. I've never seen her give a performance like that before. But she's incredible in that movie. But also, she knows how to work a room. I saw her she was at the Middleburg Film Festival back in October, and I got to meet her and see her work a room of press people. She's a total pro. She knows what she's doing. And so she was, it's no surprise that she won that. And she's also just fucking amazing in that movie. And here's the thing. I know a lot of people were shitting on Amelia Perez. I actually liked the movie. But I definitely understand where people are coming from. But I think it's hard to deny how incredible she is in that movie.
Is she the first Guardian of the Galaxy to win an Academy Award?
I believe so. Because, well, Lord knows Bradley Cooper's trying. Some would say he's trying too hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe she is the first Guardian of the Galaxy to win. If I had my way, maybe Dave Bautista would have won because he was in this movie this past year called The Last Showgirl.
Yeah.
Which got a lot of buzz for Pam Anderson. And she's actually, you might not have thought it, but Pamela Anderson is fantastic in this movie. She should have been nominated. She's really that good in this movie. And Dave Bautista has this really nice supporting understated role in it, and he's fantastic in the movie.
He presented, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He actually, it was part of the he was part of the presenting team for, I believe, cinematography, because Dune 2 was nominated. So he was talking to the Dune 2 cinematographer for that. And then my favorite movie of the year, Conclave, won Best Adapted Screenplay. So, it was good and good things all around. An amazing film from Brazil called I'm Still Here won Best International Feature. It's the first time Brazil has ever won that award. And it's an amazing movie. I saw it the night before the Oscars. It's about the real story of this former congressman in Brazil during the height of the military dictatorship in 1970, who's abducted and who's basically kidnapped by the regime and executed. And his wife is trying to find out what happened and is trying to also maintain her family because she has 5 kids. And Fernanda Torres is in it. She's amazing in this movie. She's absolutely wonderful. I would highly recommend. It'll be on streaming soon on one of the sites. I would highly recommend. And speaking of other countries, Latvia won their first Oscar for the movie in the animated feature film category for Flow, beating out The Wild Robot, which a lot of people thought was going to win, but
I feel like I didn't see Flow around a lot. Like I heard about this. The first time I heard about this was via the Oscars in the category.
It did win the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature, and they were really doing, and it was making its way through the art house circuit a lot, and they were doing a lot of events in Los Angeles. They were really plugging the hell out of that movie in Los Angeles and New York. And it's a stunning movie. If you don't know about this movie, it's a movie that has no dialogue because there are no people in this movie. There are no human characters in the movie. It's all animals, but these are not talking animals. It's just them making their normal animal sounds. And it's about this cat in the wild when this great flood happens and manages to hop onto a boat and has to learn how to survive along with a capybara, a dog, a lemur, and a giant bird.
A secretary bird.
Yeah, and there are moments in that movie. There are like 3 moments during that movie where I almost had a heart attack because like there's this moment where like the floodwaters are going up, the cat's trying to get, and it's on top of the statue, it's on top of the head of the statue, and the water's getting closer and closer, and I'm just like, oh my god, you know. It also didn't help that they used the actual sounds of the animals, so you actually hear like this cat like meowing and frightened, and I'm just like, oh dear God.
So, but this movie, it doesn't have like a streaming deal yet, right? Isn't that?
I don't think Netflix. I don't think it's not Netflix.
No, it's not Netflix.
No, it's not Netflix. Okay, no. That makes sense then, because I was like, where? I felt like an animated film like that I would have had some wind of, and I was like, that felt like it came out of nowhere.
We own several children, and
exactly that's what I'm like. Why did
moments like that, and also the fact that there's no dialogue? I think even though it's something that kids could enjoy, I think the fact that there's no dialogue is something that actually may be a hindrance to that.
Yeah, NPR told me not to show it to the kids, that it was a little too stressful for them.
It's very, very true. It is.
We're making them
very
soft,
stressful
man.
at times. And also, I got to shout out the winner of Best Documentary Feature, No Other Land, one of the best movies I saw last year, probably along with Conclave and September 5. Those were my 3 favorite films of last year. No Other Land is a documentary that will just break your heart, has some of the most devastating scenes I've seen in a movie ever. And it's all about this guy whose family owns the only gas station in this one town in the West Bank. And it takes place right after the Israeli High Court ruled that the settlers could start demolishing the homes and things. And there are 2 scenes in particular that always get me on that one. And one is where it's a school, and the Israeli settlers decide to start bringing the demolishing equipment while the school is in session. They don't demolish it while any children are in there, but it's like, hey, you got to get out of here because we're going to be tearing down this fucking place in 5 minutes, and just like breaks your fucking heart. And I thought that was going to be the thing that devastated me the most in that movie. But then there's a scene with a water well, and the IDF comes up and says, you don't have a permit for this, and they fill it up with cement.
Nice.
I mean, it's just, and I wanted that to win because the main guy from the movie, who's a Palestinian guy, who's the guy who accepted for the movie, he is listed, so he actually is an Oscar winner. I just want him to have a good night before he has to go back to the West Bank. I just want to see him partying and having a good night before he has to go back to the shit that he has to deal with every day.
And I hear that one does not have distribution either.
That one doesn't have it either. Yeah, I only saw it was at the Middleburg, but I wasn't able to make it work with my schedule. So I got a screening link from the press people for it, and that doesn't have proper distribution yet either. I hope it gets on one of the streaming services like Netflix or Hulu. Hopefully not Apple, because hardly anyone has Apple, but or Peacock or Paramount Plus. But I really hope it gets there because people need to see this movie.
Well, there's a question that's an interesting point right there, and that goes into like thinking about. I just think about the cartoonists who made obviously whether it's Amazon, whether it's Hulu, obviously that's a Disney property, I assume, right? That's under.
Hulu's under Disney. Yeah.
Under Disney, Apple, obviously, Tim Cook there, and like these same individuals who control these large distribution centers now, like, would they green like that? Because like that doesn't seem like to be.
Well, fortunately, like with documentaries, a lot of time they're not greenlit by studios. They're just, especially documentaries, they're just made and then they get the distribution.
So they buy it. So someone would buy.
Yeah, they just acquire it, and
Gotcha.
and I can guarantee you with that Oscar win, like they're going to be they're probably going to be bidding on it. There's going to be a bidding war.
Yeah, but it's viewers, no matter what, I guess.
But the conversation about it is that it is controversial in a way that makes it difficult to distribute. And
I mean, the only way it's controversial is it shows exactly what Israel is doing.
Yeah, well,
that is the only way it's controversial, because
in America,
because it's really about this the Palestinian guy and an Israeli guy who's also credited as the director of the movie. So he was also a winner on it, and he was the second person who spoke on stage. And it's about they team up, and the Israeli guy, I think his name is Yuval Abraham. Said during his speech, we're going back to a country where I'm free and he's not.
Right. Oh,
that's huge. I've
heard these guys interviewed together, and I watched that speech, and I look, for me personally, obviously, I have a lot invested in this conflict over there and all that. I think that, from what I understand, I do really want to see this film. I think that it's probably going to be difficult for me to watch in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, no, it's a tough watch.
But I think that it is pointing out, based on what they said at their acceptance, this very critical thing and very important thing that is why it is controversial and difficult. Because in America, the narrative is Israel is the good guys and the Arabs are the bad guys, and there's no room for like a discussion of, well, they're both not great, and they're both like victims, and they're both perpetrators, and they're both, like, it's a very, very multi-sided conflict, and Americans aren't good at nuance or like understanding that people can be two things at once. So it is, that's what I mean by that it's controversial. One of the things I wanted to ask you about, though, that I was sort of saving here, is the method of presentation this year was very different in some instances, where they didn't just have people, they did sometimes just have people come out and tell a story about something and then, present the award, but having the the actors praising the cinematographers, or having somebody come out and speak to each person individually directly and say what they loved about their performance. That felt much more real and much less like self-congratulatory to me. And do you think that other people perceived it that way? Is that going to stick?
Well, they did it last year with the acting categories. They had the 5 previous winners of the category come out, and they did that at the 2008 ceremony. I didn't like it for the acting awards because I like clips. I like showing the clip, especially for the acting ones. Yeah, I like seeing the clips, and so people watching can actually like see a little bit of these performances that we are saying are deserved as best of the year. I did like it, though, for the craft categories, though we only got it for 2 categories. We got it for costumes and we got it for cinematography. And so that was just weird that they would choose just 2 to do it with. Though I understand you can't do it with everyone because that literally, you think the Oscars are long now, that would take forever. But I did like how they do that. I think they might stick with it, but they might try to find a way to make it a bit more streamlined, like maybe a bit more streamlined. And they kind of did it with the supporting categories, where they had Robert Downey Jr. and Da'Vine Joy Randolph both just talk about the other nominees.
Yeah.
But then when they got to the lead categories, they just went to clips, which was just weird in that kind of dichotomy. It was just a weird contrast. I think that was because they didn't want to have to say nice things about Carla Sofia Gascon. who I think was one of the best jokes of the night when Conan O'Brien said that Honora says the word fuck 479 times, only 3 more than Carla Sofia Gascon's publicist.
That's funny.
Considering everything that she had been through her Twitter feed.
Yeah, that's not good. That was not pleasant for anybody to look at. I would recommend don't read that.
Yeah. And she wasn't even trying to be funny. It was just mean shit.
Yeah, it was just ruthlessly mean.
Yeah. But if you want something that will bring a smile to your face, I will say watch Conclave. Conclave is so great. And here's the thing. It's also at times incredibly funny because it shows us what if a cardinal had to use a photocopier.
Oh my God,
that's funny.
It's a very funny movie and it's a very good movie. I've seen it 3 times. I saw it at Middleburg, then I took my mom to see it. She loved it, and she actually said it was partly because of her experience being raised as a Catholic, having she remembers my mom was born in 1957. She remembers her father being visibly pissed when Vatican II happened.
Wow.
And because he was a good Irish Catholic boy from Long Island, and also she went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 8th grade. So because it's not about Catholicism or God or religion, it's about seeing these people jockeying for a position of infallibility, but in doing so, acting at their most cravenly human. And
right.
That's good.
Yeah, it's an immensely entertaining one. That's what it is above all. It is an entertaining movie. Plus, Ralph Fiennes, John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, and Isabella Rossellini. Come on, what else do you need? And also, I got to give a shout out to Isabella Rossellini. On her dress for the evening was made out of blue velvet, which was such a beautiful tribute to, we lost David Lynch a couple weeks ago.
Right.
David Lynch passed away. And of course, he directed Isabella Rossellini in the movie Blue Velvet. It's an incredible performance. That's another difficult movie to watch, but for very different reasons than no other reason. But I love that she wore a dress made out of blue velvet as a tribute to David Lynch. That was a very, very moving moment for me.
I heard they told people that we need to go back to the movies. Is that true?
Yes. Well, Sean Baker, and here's another thing too, to Sean Baker's credit. So Sean Baker got up on stage 4 times. And a lot of times you'll see at the Oscars when a person gets up on stage multiple times, they really don't know what to do because they say they'll do all that. Because a lot of times they think, okay, I'll only win one. So they'll just give all their standard thank yous. And then they don't know what to say. For each time Baker was at the microphone, he had something different to say. The first one he won for screenplay, he gave the standard thank yous. And also thank the sex worker community, but that's what But if you've ever seen Sean Baker movies, he makes movies about these types of people that don't get humanized that often. Right. The second one, when he won for editing, he got up on stage and said, "You should have seen the original cut. I saved this in the edit room. That director's a hack."
Right,
which was a great moment. And then for his directing speech, first it was presented by Quentin. So he thanked Quentin for casting Mikey Madison in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But then he said he's been doing this at events throughout the season. He's been saying he did not want this film to go to streaming. He wanted it in movie theaters. And movie theaters are taking a really big. I mean, we're seeing here in DC, East Street's closing.
East Street is gone. Yeah. That's insane.
Insane. I cannot believe.
I never thought that would happen.
Yeah. And he said, and he rightly pointed out, we lost 1,000 screens during the pandemic, and we're still losing more. And we need to make. And he was speaking to both and it wasn't condescending, speaking just to the public, saying you need to see it. He was saying it to the room, make movies and get them in theaters. And so and because even theater attendance is down, because even films that we would say are doing well as blockbusters are not hitting the numbers that they were just 5-10 years ago.
And speaking of theaters, didn't Conan had a pre-taped bit or whatever where he was selling a theater as like a new way to stream movies?
Yes, that was a brilliant bit.
Put them on a wall and how do you
don't do anything
for you? It was
it
was pretty funny.
No, that was a funny bit. And so back to like Conan knocked it out of the park. He was great.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what did you think about Conan?
When I heard that he was
first time, right?
Yeah, this is his first time hosting, which is incredible considering, how long because he's hosted the Emmys twice, but that was the first time he hosted was 2002. Then he hosted again in 2006. The first time he was really good. The second time, the 06 hosting gig was amazing. He was so far. He did this great bit where he said where he put Bob Newhart in a tube and it says, to make sure we don't go long, this is Bob Newhart. He's in a tube with only 3 hours of oxygen. If we go over, you will be responsible for killing Bob Newhart, which was a brilliant bit he did. And because that's the thing between him and Kimmel. Kimmel's really good, but Kimmel, when he does bits, they go on a lot of times they will go on long. And if they don't work, it becomes very clear very quickly that they don't work. Conan is much more abrupt in terms of his style. And so, like, when he did that song at the end of his thing that says, "We won't waste time," that was the weakest part of his monologue for me personally, at least.
Yeah, I agree.
It just didn't work, but it didn't take up too much time. So it wasn't like as big a glaring, sore spot for the ceremony.
I thought Conan did okay. In my opinion, like, Conan is an acquired taste, right? If you like,
right, yes, yeah.
Conan, I like Conan.
I like Conan.
Yeah, you got to be really into the sort of offbeat kind of. It's not as mainstream as Kimmel, so
no,
it was a bit of a choice that they made.
There's a reason why he didn't work as well at 11:30 than he did at 12:30.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. That is a really good.
That's a great way to put it.
Even though he should have, even though NBC did him dirty.
Yes,
even though NBC did him insanely dirty. But yeah, I thought he did a great job, and I just think just stop the speculation, just nail him down for next year.
Yeah,
nail him down for next year because he was great, and most of all, he didn't fuck anything up.
Right.
Speaking of fuck-ups,
oh god,
Brian's got opinions.
Oh yeah, I got opinions.
Please do.
Who as I'm darking because I'm still watching baseball. Who is responsible for the obituaries?
Oh, the In Memoriam. That's the show producers. They orchestrate it. And they've had some hits and misses. I personally liked it this year, but it's also compare it to last year's, which was abysmal. It was just terrible. They had no idea. I felt like they had no idea what they were trying to do with it. So, this year, I thought worked. But what did you think?
Well, the omissions, and especially those that were recent.
Okay, yeah. So that's always, and this is the tough thing about it. It's what do they get, like a minute or two for it, and they have to fit as many people as they can while just trying to not just be like a continuous thing of where you blink and you miss someone. I was listening to something today. I just realized they left out what was his name? One of the directors of it, the Abrams Zucker, one of the guys who directed Airplane. They left him and The Naked Gun. They left him out of there, and I know they left Michelle Trachtenberg, who just passed away, out of there. It's a shame that because you're not just doing actors, you're doing, costume designers, executives, cinematographers, all these different types of people. It's a really tough thing to try to fit all those people in.
Who did they leave out that Brian loves?
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Okay, we knew it.
In all fairness, though, she's.
she's a Scooby. So for those who don't know, Scoobies is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer's team group nickname. Yeah. So I felt her, and also Tony Todd, the original Candyman.
That he should. I will say he should have been in there.
Yeah,
Trachtenberg, and I'm not trying to diss her in any way, but I think she would be more appropriate at the Emmys in memoriam than the Oscars in memoriam.
Understandable.
What, Harriet the Spy doesn't rate the same way that Buffy the Vampire Slayer's crew does?
Who knows?
Not for this.
Look at these dead ass actors.
Yes. Oh God. Damn. Oh, hold on, Eris. I think I got something for you all. Let's see. Where is it? I haven't done it in a while. There we go. Yeah, breaking news. The Brazilians are going to the World Baseball Classic.
Whoa!
Yes,
Brazilians
they beat Germany 6-4. So we'll find out which pool they'll be going to shortly. By
Samba around the bases.
Yeah.
Who did they beat?
They beat Germany.
Oh, beat Germany.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what happened at the Oscars. One of their competitors in international feature was Germany, although Germany submitted an Iranian film. It was a weird thing because the director of the film was actually sentenced to be imprisoned, and he got out just before they imposed it, and so Germany submitted that film, but they lost.
That's insane. Germany is submitting an.
Well, I mean, yeah, the submission from Germany was in Iran. It was a film made in Iran. The submission from France was from a French director, but it was a film that set in a musical set in Mexico about the trans cartel leader. So it's like
Germany, be careful. That's what got Angela Merkel out of there. I'm just saying, look, German. This is like that piss off more Germans,
What could go wrong?
What could go wrong with angry
Germans? All right, before you get us in some sort of international incident here,
me, not what just was on TV the other night, but me,
you are going to get. We're going to talk about that international incident. So. What we're going to do is we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to come back with Charlie has one more point.
Oh, so you were asking about my predictions. I just
we want to. Yes, I'm sorry. How did you do?
We had over 13,000 people predicting on Gold Derby this year. Not only was I in the top 1% of predictors, I was actually out of all 13. I was 101st.
Wow.
But not only that, I got the highest accuracy score of all of both our editors, which are the people that write for the website, and the experts, the Oscar experts from all over the internet that we call from. Best score of the bunch.
So you of the staff picks, you beat
high score. That's
damn right I did, because I called the flow upset. And I was the only one calling that Anora was going to win film editing. Everyone else went with Conclave.
That's why we have
love it. We go with the animals versus the damn robots. Better.
That's right.
I'm rocking for that. Yeah, exactly.
Animals versus robots.
And
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit lost?
Yeah, they lost to. They lost the animated feature category. Their new one is on Netflix.
I saw it.
And the best part about it is it brings back the penguin from the long trousers, and who they keep on referring to as a chicken, because remember he wears the thing on his head, and the thing says, "Have you seen this chicken?" Which still is like one of the best comedies I've ever seen.
Oh, Wallace and Gromit.
I love everything about Wallace and Gromit. We're a huge Nick Park and Aardman family. We watch.
And the new guy they have, and the new guy that because the man who voiced Wallace passed away a couple years ago.
Yes, that's true.
The new guy who they have doing it flawless.
You hear that, Brian? He passed away. Sorry, get him. Hopefully he was memorialized.
Unlike Gene Hackman, who was found dead.
Gene Hackman was definitely found dead, and I won't go.
We still don't know what the fuck happened.
No one knows what happened.
I know what happened.
I thought they would reveal a gas leak or carbon monoxide poison. Now it's like, nope, it's not that. So it's like,
I know what happened.
When I first heard this, I thought, is this a Phil Hartman situation or something? Right. And it's just, this is just bizarre.
Did the dog die?
People what happened to is Gene Hackman, who we all thought, when I first saw that he died, I was just like, okay, yeah, he's 95. Although he was kicking around until the very end. Like, I think just like 6 months ago, someone took a picture of him at a drive-through. Not because they were like, oh, he's screwing up at a drive. It's like, dude, Gene Hackman's at the drive-through.
It's Gene Hackman.
But yeah, that was just, this is just weird.
And once I further read that the wife and dog died, I was like, what? Wait,
I have a theory.
Yeah.
What's your theory? Did the dog die in the cage? Did they say that? Is the dog locked in the cage?
No, the dog wasn't locked in a cage. There were two other dogs that were outdoors. That were outside.
Yeah. So I think that the wife basically like had a heart attack or something like that, and she was caring for Gene and the dogs, and then without her there, they died a couple days later or something. That's my theory.
That's a crazy theory. But they said but how long? I know they said Gene Hackman when they found him was what, a week or 2 weeks, something
like 9 days. I think it was.
9 days.
I think both him and his wife had been dead for like 9 days.
Yeah. So she died, and she was the primary caregiver for a 95-year-old guy and a dog.
And Gene Hackman couldn't get up and get his own pills.
Yeah, or couldn't get food, or couldn't, like, who knows what condition he was in at that point. I mean,
what was he at the drive-through?
Yeah, that was like 6 months ago. Who knows?
Oh,
I'm saying like
that's a long time.
The most plausible thing to me is something like that.
Especially, I think he would have known to call 911 though.
Maybe.
What do you mean?
I don't know. Maybe the response times are bad in New Mexico.
Yeah, or maybe he was already like, he
wasn't even in Albuquerque. He was in Santa Fe. Who the fuck lives in Santa Fe other than people that work at the state capitol?
Balloon enthusiasts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they have that there. That's right. Yeah,
it's a balloon enthusiast.
I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it's the only thing that makes sense. Okay, now we did Oscars, we did predictions, we've done all of this stuff. We're going to take a break so that then we can come back. We can do the third half of the show where we've got a bunch of news and other things to make fun of, which is going to be actually pretty funny, I hope.
And sad.
It's called Traumedy. We all love it.
Traumedy.
It's great for everybody.
Traumedy. Can we do one of these?
Yeah, we could win one of those.
True. No, we don't win anything besides the awards we give to ourselves.
That's right. Don't you forget it. All right, we're going to take a break. You're listening to ChipChat,
printing them out.
Beltway Radio and beyond.
Swift.
I'm sick of all these witches and warlocks. They're full of shit. Pumpkin possums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Oh, there's energy and now we're done with Trump. You said he was the Messiah. You said he was invincible. I will not suffer your Q people after this. I knew what you were day one. I know what you are now. Witches and warlocks are full of shit. Pumpkin possums. I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why every goddamn thing out of your people's mouths doesn't come true. You said it was all over. You told us the stuff. You. Witches and warlocks, you're full of shit. Pumpkin possums, I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Witches and warlocks, you're full of shit. Pumpkin possums, I'm sick of it.
You keep interrupting me.
And all of it's lies. Because you're lying. That's why. Because every god thing. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. My children aren't going hungry. I'll do it. I'll drink your blood. And I'm starting to think about having to eat my neighbors. You think I like sizing up? I'm gonna haul him up that chain. Chop his ass up, size it up. I'm gonna haul him up that chain. Chop, 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 chop. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I'll barbecue your ass flat. I will cook your ass up so fast, and I'll tell them, well, I killed a cow out back, baby. You think Christ would eat somebody? He would never do that. I will. I'm ready to hang them up, gut them and skin them and chop them up. You know what? I'm ready. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat your ass. I will eat your leftist ass like corn on the cob. I'm ready. I will eat you. I will eat your ass. That's why I want the globalists to know. I will eat your ass first. I swear to God, if it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna get my hands around your throat.
I swear to God, it's the last thing I do. Welcome back to ChipChat here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm Chip, laughing in the corner. There is Tez and Charlie's hanging out with us.
Two things.
How you doing, guys?
Two things. First of all, I'm gay as hell, but I do not want to hear anything about ass eating and corn on the cob in the same sentence. No. No.
Corn on the cob.
Second,
we already know what happens with
these
corn.
are delightful.
It's like they tie together.
These are delightful, and it's sort of like I just discovered this guy on YouTube who takes Karen videos and syncs them up with heavy metal
because
they're all going and it's genius. It's absolutely genius. And so I'm loving all of this. This is a new dawn for musical innovation.
We have been
playing that for years at this point.
Alex Jones videos for years, like it's our favorite thing.
I'll never forget the first time being in the studio and like just looking up at that and just watching it and just being like, what? These are the parts of the internet I don't explore. We have to be responsible for like 60,000 views of that.
Yeah.
At least.
All right.
Oh my God, it's always funny. It's never not funny.
No, it never ceases to amuse.
It is very, very funny.
And I always see new things too. Sometimes, like in the first one in the warlock session, I never see them say "I'm sorry." There's like a quick "I'm sorry" in it.
You keep interrupting me. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I never seen that part before. It's always. I've been humming that. I hummed the
leftist ass song is your jam, right?
There were times where I would be like saying, not like it's just a song I'm saying, and I'm like, oh, I can't say these words outside. Like I'm wearing like a red Nats hat and just confuse people.
That's why I go with the blue, red, white, and blue one in there.
Yo, that's a very patriotic. Yeah, that's fine. That is
all right. So now we've come to the part of the show called the Rundown. This is where I tell you about some stuff that's going on in the news. If we were professionals, it would sound a little something like this. Of course it would.
Of course it would. Yeah.
From Beltway Radio and beyond in Washington, D.C., I'm Emmy-nominated TV newsman and just bona fide sexual beast, J. Scott Smith. And this is the part of the show where I tell some stuff about maybe not me, but somebody else is going to tell some stuff about what's happening in the news. So what's going on in the news, fellas?
Thanks, Jay. Okay, so the big story this week was that John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett apparently get a lot of pleasure out of death threats and also watching Sam Alito lose his shit because they sided against the Trump administration in the spending freeze case that was sent to them on the rocket docket. Alito's arguments were about as thin and wavy as his racist flags that his wife likes to fly. Basically, it goes like this. The Trump administration tried to stop paying bills for services that were already rendered to USAID, and they can't do that. And so the USAID folks went to court, and several other, like the contractors who were working for USAID went to court, and they're like, hey, give us our money. And the Trump people were like, no. And they're like, well, on what grounds? And they're like, because we don't want to. And so then the judge is like, well, you got to do it. And they're like, fine. So then they just didn't do it. And the judge was like, hey, you didn't do it. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I ordered you to do it. Can you give me an example where you tried anything? And they're like, fuck you. And he was like, no. I'm the judge, not fuck you.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Double fuck you. You have until 11:59 tomorrow to show me where you've paid the money. And they're like,
5 instances where you tried to put the money last week.
Yeah, and so then they appealed it to the Supreme Court. And now when the Supreme Court hears things on an emergency basis and does this rocket docket stuff, they often don't explain their reasoning.
Right.
So it went 5-4 with Barrett and Roberts joining with the three reasonable judges. And was like,
not liberals anymore. They're just reasonable.
Just reasonable. They don't even have to be. Yeah. Shit,
well, liberal is not the proper term anymore, apparently, also. Now it's leftist. I can't even keep track anymore.
Sandra Day O'Connor would be a damn leftist at this point.
Right. Right. That is exactly the case.
So, but in any case, they sent it back and they said, no, they got to pay. And they sent it back to the district court to sort of work out the details. And the district court was like, all right, cool. Give us a schedule. You got to pay. But like Alito lost his fucking mind about
Very
this.
upset about this.
And he wrote this incredibly stupid. When we talk about like a straw man argument, this is an extremely good example of a straw man argument where you're pretending that this thing that isn't one of the choices and isn't by any means the only choice is the only alternative to the thing that did happen. Here's what he said, quote, does a single district court judge who likely lacks jurisdiction have the unchecked power to compel the government of the United States to pay out and probably lose forever $2 billion taxpayer dollars? The answer to that question should be an emphatic no, but a majority of this court apparently thinks otherwise. I am stunned. Well,
what did he argue? He's not. This to my.
Did he write down that he went into his fainting couch?
Yes, he was so upset that his wife had to fly 2 flags upside down. Okay, first of all, yeah, Sam and Alito, that's exactly what we expect because that's the way the Constitution is fucking set up. And if the district court rules that the government's got to comply, then they got to comply. They can appeal it, which they did, and then the Supreme Court gets to make a decision, which they did, and that's just how it works. You got a problem with it, dig James Madison up and have it out with him.
Or if Congress decided to go ahead and shut down USAID, then we would have nothing to say about this. And we would say Congress has made this and passed this law, right, resolution, and we're going to go ahead and then just like, all right, because that's how this is supposed to work. But you decided to not go that route. You went this route, and now the courts have ruled, and there it is. It's simple and plain. I don't know why, but like,
Alito was on about is why any of the branches are so willing to cede power. Why on God's green earth would the court want to cede this power away from themselves? This is Robert saying, hey, look, man, you don't like the separation of powers. That's your fucking problem. But like, this is how it is written. This is how it's going to be. If you wanted to get rid of USAID, there's a way you can do it. You can go to Congress. You can get them to make it go away. But you can't just unilaterally refuse to spend the money, and you certainly can't unilaterally refuse to pay people for contracts that have already been written and executed. It's just not going to happen.
Your whole job is to execute the laws that are provided by Congress.
As written, faithfully execute the laws. It is not the fact that Alito and Clarence and stuff are willing to just create a monarchy. That's not new or surprising. I even predicted correctly which 2 justices were going to go.
Well, one was already a given.
Well, Roberts was a given, but
Coney Barrett, it's really been those 2 that have really been the only ones. If they ever decide, if any one of those 5 of those 6 conservatives are going to go against the administration, it's going to be those 2.
Unless it's gambling, Kavanaugh jumps in.
Yeah, every once in a while, Beer Can Brett wants to get on the side of justice. But I'm just saying that, like, this is ridiculous, okay? But now...
5-4 ruling is ridiculous on this.
That's the other thing. That's the other thing.
It was even 5-4 to take the case. So let's see here, because now we've set up the test, right? The Supreme Court's ruled, and they have to do. Now we're going to see if the Trump people are going to follow a court order. And every time that one of these things happens, we are going to be staring at the end of the Republic as we know it until they actually comply.
They're going to lie, and they're going to present something that is false, right? That's what's going to continue to happen.
That's exactly what I think is going to happen. They're going to lie, and then they're going to get caught lying, and then there's going to be, but at some point, somewhere, we are going to have to face this enforcement aspect of this.
Yeah, it's coming.
That will be the constitutional crisis.
Susan Collins' threat level has been risen from concerned to anxious.
Oh my goodness. Pretty soon she'll be a little bit worried.
It's like going from condition off-white to taupe.
Oh my Lord. You know what you know what they told Alito to go do, right, with this woman?
They told him to go fishing?
There it is. Ding.
They asked him what, and then his wife said, "You know, I'm German, and you know how us Germans are."
No.
You're hitting it too close to the head. You're hitting it too close to home, there, baby.
Okay. On that note, this next one is called "Have the Day You Voted For."
I love that because that's the riff on the "Have the Day You Deserve."
Yep. Has to be voted for. That is my slogan from now on. A growing number of states have made it easier for doctors who trained in other countries to get medical license. A shift supporters say could ease physician shortages in rural areas. Now, before we get into the details of this, I believe
one thing people in rural areas love, it's foreigners telling them what to do.
Or touching them while they're naked. So
that's where I was going.
That one they actually do enjoy.
Exactly. One of the things that we've talked about on this show many times is the portability of work. And there are reasons why people might not be able to take their professions with them across borders. Like, let's say you're a lawyer. Okay, laws are different in different states or in different countries. I myself, with my background in HVAC, of course, if I went to a different country or different electric voltages, different rules and codes and things, I'd have to learn something new. But
and the amount of money you'd spend on adapters is crazy.
It's crazy. Okay. But the thing that should be the most portable is being a doctor, because human beings are the same on every side of every border.
And some countries do it better.
Yeah. And so if you know how to like fix a broken leg in Croatia, you also know how to fix a broken leg in Peru. People are the same. And how we work is the same. So it should be the most portable thing, but it's not. So
unless you're Jewish and all that child blood is just keeping you healthy all the time.
Yeah, well, we're made of something different. We can't explain what it is, but just
it's child blood.
Shh, don't tell them. The horns are never mind. So
every Jew has his horns.
That's right. So now these states are overwhelmingly in places that hate immigrants.
Thank you, Tez. Thank you, Tez. I can always count on you, man.
Because he has a real story about that that's so sad.
Yeah, I have been asked where my horns are, which is one of the funniest things I've ever been asked, but is also one of the most worrying things I've ever been asked.
Because it sounds like something out of South Park.
It does, but it was not. It was before South Park existed, and it was just okay. It also had happened to me at a time that I hadn't heard that as one of the things that we were supposed
That's
to
so jarring.
So I was so utterly confused, and also thought this was so funny that
How old were you?
I was like 10 or 11.
Okay.
Oh man.
And I was
Who said it?
It was somebody at school, and
someone who's now the Undersecretary of Defense or something, you know.
Correct. Yes.
What a brass.
And and I just was I don't know what I thought they meant. I can't remember, but I remember thinking it was very funny, and then sort of wishing maybe I did have horns. That would be kind of cool. But I don't know, like Hellboy maybe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what, you know.
It was.
I don't think he was Jewish. I don't think he was Jewish.
You know. Do I got to saw them off, and do they grow back?
I don't. You got to sand them down. You got to sand them
down,
man.
That's what the rhinos do. So it was just Anyway, okay. So the states that don't like immigrants need immigrants, and in this case, what they need are doctors, because nobody wants to go be a doctor in name checks here: Florida, Iowa, Idaho, rural Illinois, to be clear about that, Louisiana, rural Louisiana, Massachusetts. I don't know why they have a problem getting doctors. They have they make doctors.
Oh yeah, because racism has never been a problem in Massachusetts.
Well, no, okay, but they do make doctors in Massachusetts. I don't think that they have reading in Idaho. So it'd be very difficult to make doctors there, what with all the learning. Tennessee, that tracks. Virginia, certain parts of Virginia, and Wisconsin. Wisconsin confused me a little bit because they are sandwiched between two states that have noted medical powerhouses, right? In Minnesota and Michigan. But then I remembered that it was Wisconsin. So that totally also explains why nobody with a medical degree would want to go there, and I understand. So, but now they're like, oh, well, we'll just import doctors from other countries, and then somehow this is going to be fine. The Trump people are like, yeah, they can use an H-1B until they can't. So then the guy they interviewed was from Afghanistan.
Of course.
I looked him up. He's in Virginia. He works in the Mary Washington system down there in Fredericksburg. So I'm sure all of those Frednecks are really enjoying having a guy whose name I guarantee they can't.
Are you calling people in Fredericksburg rednecks?
Frednecks.
Oh, Frednecks. Okay.
Yes, Frednecks.
Different.
Yeah. His name is Zalmay. I'm sure they love that.
Yeah, he goes by Z.
Yeah. I guarantee it. He does.
Dr. Z.
Dr. Z.
I'm Dr. Z. Dude, I feel like people are receptive.
Dr. Z sounds like the name of a doctor in a porno.
Not wrong.
Not wrong, yeah. I mean, but here's the thing, like,
Brian cared to weigh in on that one?
That's way too full in his car.
Wow. But this is like this. These people are trying to stop the Great Replacement theory. They're trying to save these people. What is going on? Like they're trying to help.
Again,
it's not a Great Replacement theory.
This is why this is in the category of have the day you voted for. You have rural hospitals that are underserved in part because they are in places that are inhospitable to people who might need to go there to help them. Also because they're poor, and also because they're in places that are what's the word? Not receiver, leech. That's the word, right? Leech states that leech off of the donor states, like the good ones that have money, like say Massachusetts, and like the fact that Louisiana can't get any doctors to go there because they can't afford them, and because they are desperate for help in, northern Louisiana, Arkansas, whatever.
Let's be honest, everywhere outside of New Orleans.
Yeah, right. Baton Rouge, even. I mean, we're talking about a state that is destitutely poor in most of the state, and is, like on this list, you're looking at it, right? How is Tennessee, where Vanderbilt is, struggling to get doctors? And it's because all of the brilliant doctors at Vanderbilt
are in San Francisco or New York. Yeah.
They leave. They go to Vandy, they get their degrees, and they become real doctors in real states, and they fucking leave Tennessee because of course they do. Why would, if you could leave Tennessee, you would, right?
This is the easiest thing though, because this is right. But no one ever wants to go there. This is how you wield the taxes, right? This is how you wield tax law. And it's very simple how you do this is like, hey guys, we do it for stadiums. We do it all the time, right? And if you wanted to go about, you could go about it that route for, I guess, I don't know, college students who are graduating. You could also still go about that for like foreign immigrants because they're going to come here and they're still going to pay some type of tax. I mean, there are ways that, like, but again, it's the hate drowns out the innovation. Like there's no way to even think about solving real problems because people are still they're too hateful. It doesn't matter.
Well, and even Trump got this right in his fake State of the Union about like, hey, if you come here for a student visa, you should have to stay and work in the United States at least for a little while after you graduate. Simple. He's not wrong about that because, I love that people want to come here and learn. I also love that they want to take what they learn here and probably some appreciation for the United States back to their home countries and help the people there. But I would like it if they would contribute a little bit, to us with their genius brains first before they then leave. And I think that that's a reasonable thing to ask.
Or have these doctors go and maybe they go work in the VA and like, right. And that's how they're able to kind of go ahead and like, again, maybe that's like the service and you tie that into citizenship. There are ways that we could be very innovative and solve a lot. And like, this country is vast. There's a lot, like there's a lot of jobs. I mean, I don't know what's going on now. There was a lot of jobs that might start to change, but there's still a huge amount of capacity to bring in people, to put them to work, to do jobs that Americans don't like. I mean, there are some Americans that,
or in this case, can't do because they're just unqualified for it, like Vivek said. But like, this is
that's so true.
We are getting to this thing though, which is you make a great point. These guys could be serving in VA hospitals or in rural hospitals as condition for, granted citizenship or visa status or whatever. I'm sure they'd be willing to do it. I'm sure that there is a grand bargain that can be struck. But the point of everything that the Trump people are doing is to harm veterans. It is to harm people in rural areas. It is to harm children in these abandoned Medicaid hospitals. It is not that they're trying to help them and can't get people to go there. It's that they are intentionally trying to close these hospitals and harm the people who need them. And don't ever make the mistake between unintended consequences and the plan working exactly as intended. And when you find out that veterans are missing out on care, or children are dying as a result of hunger, or schools are closing in places where they desperately need them, or airplanes are veering off course and slamming into mountains, or the weather service doesn't work anymore because there's nobody there, or infinite list, right? Or forest fires are going, or that the people in South Carolina can't get help from the FEMA workers because their credit cards got cut off. All of these things are not mistakes made by an overzealous and moving too fast Doge. They are exactly the point. This is what these people voted for, and I cannot stress enough that they should have the day that they have voted for.
It's going to come for us, though, eventually.
I can't bring myself to that. I can't bring
myself.
Yeah, like, I don't want to see people suffer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Happen. It has to happen for these people in South Carolina to continue to vote against climate change. They have to have disaster upon disaster upon disaster.
They've already been having disasters upon,
and that doesn't change their mind.
The needle.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, giving them health care didn't seem to move the needle either. So,
well, Obamacare's still here. Obamacare's still here.
Let
like,
them.
Are there states that haven't expanded Medicaid?
I don't remember if South Carolina took the expansion or not by now, but regardless, Florida did, and they're still voting that way. So, like, let them have the day they voted for. And if this is what it takes, this is what it's either this or the barge. And I know Tez doesn't want me to use the barge, so let them do it to themselves.
No barge. They're allowed to live here too.
Okay, let's talk about world news. You know that there's a whole other world, right?
Yeah. There's no more
visual aid here. Recognize this guy?
Is Vladimir?
Yeah, this is Vladimir.
Yeah, that's a comic.
Yeah, it's just the funny news kid.
That's the guy without the cards.
This is the guy in his t-shirt and fatigues. Yeah. All right. So Ukrainian president and noted owner of many suits, Volodymyr Zelensky, visited the White House last week to try to convince Trump to let go of Putin's penis long enough to have a conversation. Didn't work. What ensued was an attack by J.D. Vance that reminded many of the time Vance raided a furniture store in Alexandria, Virginia, naked from the waist down. Vance pressed Zelensky to be more thankful in a way that a date rapist also presses things, and Zelensky tried to explain in simple terms who Vladimir Putin, in fact, was. Trump began by yelling about cards. Zelensky, who speaks English at a level of a new learner and therefore substantially better than Trump does, explained that he was there about a war, not cards. Earlier, he had explained that Putin had violated more than 24 signed ceasefires between Russia and Ukraine while asking Vance and Trump what other kinds of diplomacy they
Why are people touching each other? I
don't know.
Crazy.
Trump responded that while Ukraine was the country at war, Trump personally was the one suffering from all the Russia attention. Okay, so that happened last Friday, and it was like
this jarring,
stunning.
This is insane.
Then, you know, all of the stuff that was planned that day, of course, didn't happen. They threw Zelensky out of the White House and all of this stuff. And it started off with like a reporter asking him why he didn't wear a suit.
And who was that reporter?
He was an TASS guy or OAN guy. I don't remember which one he was, but the Russians had their guys
Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend.
Was in there. He was who?
He's Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend.
Oh, great. Naturally.
I'm not even joking.
No, I know you're right about that.
Because the AP would have asked something even worse, apparently.
Right. Why didn't you bring one of your suits from the Gulf of Mexico? I think the phrase Marjorie's boyfriend, that confuses me. Somehow I didn't think that was likely. I'm just saying.
These conservative chicks are always can always find someone willing to bang him.
Does he is he have an eyesight problem, or is his, you know, does he have
I think his dick is immune to whatever toxic fumes come out of her vagina.
That would explain it. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Simple. There you go.
It's one of those symbiotic parasite relationships. Get it?
Interestingly enough, the only known cure for those toxic fumes: Jewish space lasers.
Yes. Well, we are not going to share. The Trump administration officials confirmed Wednesday that the White House then paused intelligence sharing with Ukraine while also yanking the aid that had already been promised and in some cases was already on ships on its way over there to help them. And, the Ukrainians were like, all right, you want to try this mineral deal again? Again, Trump is after what he calls raw earth minerals. I don't think he knows what he's actually after. And I'm not sure that Ukraine actually has any of this stuff.
I mean, we didn't even spend time on this about his address to Congress around. He wants to, but he's like, we want to build ships.
Yeah.
What? Excuse me? It's literally the whole like Chappelle coal. It's that. What do you mean we're building ships again? And look, there's a section there's a section of that build ships, but it's almost crazy because his worldview is very after World War II, like
was very early 80s in particular.
Early 80s, and it's like we don't do that anymore. But that meeting is just, it goes back to what does the office stand for? What should it look like? And I mean, it's almost like we're going through there's two extremes at this point, and this extreme. Prior, right, we couldn't even get the press. There wasn't enough access to what was happening in the White House for the last 4 years. We know that's a conversation we should eventually have and figure out at some point in the future, right? Because there's a miss there. But this is just at least we know when people like this. No matter what you got to say, it's just regular. There's decorum. JD Vance on his attack dog, it literally, he might have, and the fact that it didn't come to blows. It almost felt because it felt that visceral inside. I don't know. It's just shameful.
It was utterly shocking. I mean, the people who were watching this kind of didn't have a way to describe it. I was stunned by it in a lot of ways. I didn't really understand what it is that I had just seen. And then the thing to me though that was really interesting here is we all saw the event happen. We all saw it linearly and as recorded the same. But the way that we saw it or saw it in our minds was drastically different depending on who you are or how you align here. And that to me was even more interesting. And I'm not even sure how I'm processing that what I saw is identical physically to what people on Fox News saw, but the way that they saw it is so very different from the way that I saw it. I'm not sure how that gets fixed.
The American president went against a democratic nation and put its support behind an autocratic nation. It's just that. It's nothing big.
Not some little autocratic nation that he barely knows about. It's against it. He made common cause with the Soviets,
the evil empire.
But it also shows you where he's at with this as well too, in the sense that he doesn't care about these rules have been he never has, and obviously it's clear that he is a voice. He's a mouthpiece, for the
his mouth's on something.
Yeah, right. It's clear that, but it also even beyond that piece, his approach to this is that no, I'm gonna deal superpower to nuclear power. I don't know. I don't consider the state of Russia to be really a superpower. It's propped up by China, right? At this point, sure. I mean, but he says no. What power to me is what Vladimir Putin is. It's not democracy or just what. And again, with the help obviously of the United States, but the Ukrainian people, I mean, for the last 3 years have stood tall, and they've made sure that they didn't lose their country. And we thought this would have been over in a week. We thought that clearly, and we were very surprised 2 weeks into that war. Like it was a shock for us to be like, oh, this went differently.
It is. I mean, there's so many things about this that are, we can talk about how weird it is that the Republicans of all people are choosing sides, with autocrats, or that they're choosing sides with the Russians, or that they're
Lindsey Graham went out there and became and he's been a meat shield, but like no pun intended. But but like again, I mean,
you're kind of getting at the thing though that I was working towards, that it is all of those things. It is weird and shy. It's weird that the Republicans are taking an anti-war stance in some sort of way.
Yeah, in a weird way.
It just it is. But what is even more stunning here is the command of the collective mind of the party that Trump has, where Graham could do something so crazy as flip in the space of a week from this is the kind of ally we always have wanted, patting Zelensky on the back, to then, oh yeah, Zelensky is the problem and Ukraine attacked Russia. Even though he said the opposite just minutes ago. He knows better.
You heard it in his response there, where he was like, "I told him not to take the bait." What do you? So you understand what's happening,
right?
When you say that, you already know. That's what I'm saying.
You gave away the game. It's a setup.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, go in there, capitulate like everybody else has done. Pick your organization, pick your corporation, whoever it is. There's obviously a bunch of and I also kind of understand the capitulation in certain areas, because this man is the president of the United States and wields unlimited power. Like it is that.
There's a time to be right and there's a time to survive. And in this case, the time is to survive. And so if Zelensky, but the thing that was utterly bizarre to me is
he came here to capitulate.
He came in there to say thank you. He did say thank you a bunch of times.
He said thank you in front of a joint session of Congress.
Yeah. And then even at the beginning of that meeting, he spent his opening statements saying thank you to Trump for, supporting Ukraine and all of these other things, which even are, he knew wasn't true. And then Vance is like, have you even said thank you once? Like, listen, you couch fucker. You can't shake down a thank you out of somebody who is already there saying thank you and desperate. It was the weirdest kind of performance art I've ever seen, and I've been to Fringe Festival.
But here's the other thing.
When I go to the theater.
But Trump wanted, like, he even said this is going to be great for TV. That's all he cares about. Like,
he said that afterwards, though.
Yeah, he said that at the very end. He said that.
He realized what was going on. And look, I had that instinct, right? I think it's very clear to everybody who's ever been involved with this show that I have the instinct to always like make the joke, even if it's not appropriate, or to.
And I really wish we could have seen, like, because they always say, oh, he just became president of Ukraine out of nowhere. Well, yeah, he was in show business before this.
Right.
And I wish we saw a bit more, but of course he can't, because he can't poke the bear too much. But I wish at some point he had just said fuck it and had just like unleashed.
Right.
Because he's got good zingers up there.
Yes. Oh, he's great at it. And he's their Jon Stewart, right? But he can't do that because his country is facing annihilation.
Have you watched the show that he did, Servant of the People? Have you watched that show?
Yeah,
I've never watched it. I've heard it's actually very
clips I've seen, it seems very funny.
I mean, I got to watch it with subtitles, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. But from the clips I've seen,
but it's pretty funny.
It seems funny.
But yeah, I mean, he doesn't have a choice to do that. And again, he could be right all he wants, and even in the court of world opinion, be right all he wants, but it isn't going to stop the ballistic missiles from flying, and it isn't going to get Patriot missiles flying back the other way.
It's not going to stop Russians from kidnapping Ukrainian children.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's got to be the tough guy now, and he can deal with all. He can be funny later.
I just can't wait till it's over and he can finally shave off that beard.
Hey,
I like him better without the beard. He still looks good. But I think he's sexier without the beard.
I'm just saying,
it's going to be over soon.
Funny Jewish guys who make fun of the news sometimes end up president, and you don't want to be on my bad side when that does happen. So just. You think JD Vance was bad? Wait till I send my.
I can't wait for that to be on a bumper sticker.
Yes, if you think JD Vance is bad, vote Chip.
I love you, but with the primary challenge we got to levy against you to stop this. Don't work. Exactly. You gotta,
I voted for Kodo.
Because I'm like, the benevolent dictator as you claiming to be.
I'm gonna be a great.
I'm gonna make people.
This man vows to take after Vladimir Putin. I vow to take after Kim Jong-un.
That's right. Little rocket man himself. All right. Speaking of benevolent dictators, Donald Trump.
Isn't that Elton John?
No,
He's regular rocket man.
Regular rocket man.
Yeah.
Regular rocket man.
Donald Trump put in place dozens of trade barriers in a flash of activity he usually reserves for shaking ketchup onto his steak. Most of the countries he attacked followed up with trade salvos of their own, raising the prices for all Americans on everything from lumber to donut holes. Incidentally, lumber to donut holes is Trump's Indian name. Trump's tariffs on automobiles.
That's the name of a really, really, really creative gay porno.
Yes. Trump's tariffs on automobiles lasted about as long as his tryst with Stormy Daniels, as he nearly immediately rolled them back, pausing the duties on cars and their parts for a month after all three big three automakers executives called him a raging moron.
What did he roll back?
Don't worry, we'll get there.
Thank God I bought my car before all this shit went down.
That's right. Okay, China also retaliated in a carefully considered way, adding import taxes to products that come primarily from Trump supporters, including soybeans, corn, and third divorces. As farms and meatpacking operations braced for higher trade barriers, the Trump administration celebrated by pointing and laughing. Quote, "Stupid poor farmers, we are fucking them harder than JD fucked that sofa," Stephen Miller was caught saying, licking Steve
It was
Bannon.
a love seat.
We'll get to the love seat. Licking Steve Bannon's third dirty shirt. Wait till they see what we do to the truckers. Ha 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 ha. The older Stephen was observed saying while eating a puppy that Kristi Noem had recently sauteed. Now,
that is not true.
That is true. Before we went to air, he rolled back all the rest of the tariffs again. He's like tariffs, maybe not. Tariffs, maybe not. This isn't the art of the deal. This is the art of the stupid. What is he doing?
Stupidity. I mean, it's a problem that he can't escape is his attraction to the stock market. And each time, everything is it's been, again, he's created volatility to a market that has defied everything that's been thrown at it, whether it's been like COVID, which obviously there's been an infusion of money to that piece, but Silicon Valley Bank, whatever, like, again, all the recession that's supposed to have been happening for 3-4 fucking years. It hasn't happened at this point. It's coming soon. It's finally here, y'all. It's like infrastructure day.
It's a self-inflicted recession.
Yeah, it is.
Doing this stuff that we don't have to. There's no need for this. There's no economic underpinning that says that there needs to be some sort of major correction here. It is just simply him alone destabilizing every piece of the world economy for fun. It looks like.
It's just not a way to run an economy, right? It's simple and plain. It just is that.
China imposed tariffs on up to 15% on a raft of U.S. farm products and blacklisted more than 20 U.S. companies, making a major escalation in a brewing battle between the world's two largest economies. The move targets some of the U.S.'s most important exports to China, including soybeans, meat, and grain. And we've talked about this before that, a huge amount of soy goes from the United States to China.
Yeah.
The reason that the United States can be economically viable at a lot of these agricultural products, even with our higher labor costs and higher fuel costs and everything, is because we have like the inland waterways. So we can very easily move huge amounts of soy from the upper plains in the Midwest down to New Orleans and out to international markets. We have this entire supply chain that is set up to move this kind of product to those kind of destinations. If they shift, they are not going to come back.
No.
Even if the trade war gets settled, even if the tariffs go away, they are not going to come back, because once you make a major change in a worldwide shipping chain or supply chain, it is very difficult to unwind. Something cataclysmic has to happen to force you to do that.
On the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. So if they start getting their soy from Brazil, which they could, if we are, tariffing them or whatever, those soy farmers in America are never going to be economically viable again. And when we talk about, hey, this looks like an unintended consequence. Why is he harming his own voters? First of all, he hates his own voters. And second of all, if he can bankrupt all of these farmers, guess who gets to buy up all of their farms and turn them into God knows what else?
Private equity.
Yes, private equity, ADM, his billionaire buddies, all of this stuff. So these aren't unintended consequences. This is the mission, right? The mission is to piss off China, get them to levy these tariffs against American farmers, drive those American farmers out of business, laugh at them while you do it, and then steal their land that has belonged to their families for the last 150 years. That's the plan.
And I mean, also, and you'll watch global markets look to a more stable country, and that stable country, sadly to say it, is China.
It's going to be China.
It doesn't matter, because you know what China will say is like, you see all this fucking democracy, right? You let these fucking idiots run around and do what the fuck you want, and they have their rules and their self-correcting mechanisms and all these freaking things. No. What I do is I say, me, Mr. Winnie the Pooh, I say, this is what the fuck we're gonna do. Right. This is what we're gonna build, and we do it that way. And this will probably have me hurt at some point, but you can sell that, and if you think about it, I don't know the numbers on this, but I would say most right now, definitely. Most nations lean more autocratic, so they don't look at what happens in China and they say, well, the Uyghurs are doing that, and Hong Kong is obviously
First
now
of all,
Taiwan.
they don't even see that. Second of all, they don't care. Third of all, unless you're really looking real hard at it, China doesn't look too autocratic right now. It mostly looks like a business that happens to own a country.
Yes, but we know. But again, yeah, from the face of it, it does look like that.
People
and that's all the people
tolerate a lot of
I agree.
If they're making money and their families are fed.
I agree.
And the Chinese are selling that to the rest of the world. Speaking of selling things to the rest of the world, you want to talk about your favorite mayor?
Oh yes, the mayor. Yes. Muriel Bowser. I think she signaled on Tuesday that we're going to get rid of Black Lives Matter Plaza. And if you don't know, if you haven't been to Washington since that's definitely Washington where it's at. If you haven't been to Washington, if you haven't been here,
as opposed to what my shirt says, just
exactly. It sits on 16th Street. I think it's going to be a block away, actually, from the White House. And this was painted, obviously, during 2020 after George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on. I think this also was right after the show of force that was done in Lafayette Plaza, right? And it was where it sat, right? And it also, let's be honest, it was also a commercial hub as well too. There were vendors that were there. People there was a bigger purpose around it. And I don't think the quote is in this here, but there's a quote where I think Mayor Bowser mentions that, hey, this got us through. And this is in the Post from what I remember reading here. Yeah. It basically got us through the those times, right, in 2020, and her what she dressed it as is hard to argue against. It's like, do we keep this here and allow it to be right fodder for the Trump administration? But my thing is, he has the eye on it, like it's already on the city for a variety of reasons. I don't see this changing anything. Now I know I forgot what congressman was like, home rule's gonna die if you don't get rid of this, but home rule's gonna die anyway.
Well, Andy Clyde of Georgia was the one who introduced a bill that was going to strip $185 million in federal transportation funds if they didn't paint over the Black Lives Matter. Now, look, home rule is under threat regardless. If Bowser gives in on this, what's to say they don't go after the next thing or the next thing or the next thing? You give them an inch.
The Republicans always do this when they're in power in Congress. They always fuck with the district. They always do.
It's their sandbox for the rest of the nation.
An overwhelmingly liberal place. I mean, this is do the people of the district still affectionately call it Chocolate City?
Yeah, it's more and more Nesquik.
Yeah. Okay. About milk chocolate at this
point. Ovaltine.
Yeah, Ovaltine. That is exactly
like Ovaltine.
Yeah, I mean, it's reflective of the fucking city, and I think it's a good saying. Like, hey, you may be in charge of the federal government, but you're in our town.
Right. Well, traditionally, when Republicans have been in charge and they have fucked with the district does often get a little prickly and do things like rename streets after people they don't like or whatever.
Taxation without representation on the fucking license plate.
Right, Muriel Bowser has been that mayor prior.
She has.
I think it's been her only saving grace.
It has been there, and it's obvious, but it's clear as well too that there are things that she wants out of the federal government at this point, and because like who else? But like I can't just blame her, right? I can go look at Tim Cook. I could go look at, again, Bob, I could go around because there's a lot of people that are obviously looking at his office and saying, hey, we see that this is a different rodeo. It is retribution. And to ask people to stand for this is like, I wish they would, but it's like they're not going to. They're going to be doing groundbreaking it for RFK. That's what they're going to do together.
I don't blame her for being sort of, taking a savvy position as a politician and trying to, I think in her mind, protect the residents of the district from something that could get much worse. But I do think that they're going to get their little crumb. They're going to go after this street, which incidentally, I mean, look, it's a street. You can kind of live without it or whatever.
Right.
They're going to come after more. They're never going to stop. It's the same reason why you can't just give Putin his 2 or 3 provinces in Ukraine and think that, okay, well, then he got what he wanted and he's going to stop. He's not going to stop.
Moldova's next.
Yeah, exactly. He's going to take the whole country and then he's going to go to Poland and Moldova and the Balkans or whatever. It's not what you're saying is true. These guys are all making these individual decisions to protect their own fiefdoms. But if they did band all together, if Apple and DC and Amazon, and if they did band together, they could stand up to him, but they'd have to agree on like a common cause and a common leadership and some sort of common management of that resistance. And that is difficult to get that many people on that kind of a same page.
It's going to happen eventually though, because there's going to be something that's so cataclysmic that it's going to force the hand.
Well, it was January 6th. That did happen, right? And then everybody kind of was like, all right, we've gone too far. And they all kind of got together and they're like, this has got to stop. Kick him off of Facebook. A few Republicans voted to convict. Like the country was like, yo, this is it. This is too much. But they all
Lindsey Graham on the floor of the Senate that night said, I'm done.
Yeah, right. And I was right back to
But what motivated those responses there, right? Those responses are motivated by fear. And now these new responses are also motivated by fear.
Yes.
And it's just not a way, like you can't navigate that way, right? Because then you keep moving to these different extremes, but I don't know what more to expect. I mean, the one thing I will say, there's a story I wanted to add to that, is it's interesting. I saw that in her budget, right? We're obviously going to lose a ton of money, but the big thing is that she's going to look to funding schools. Like that seems to be as an idea, and it's a smart idea to try to keep residents in the city, right? Because once the federal government, right, and even the people, obviously a lot of people live outside the city, but if you can make the schools attractive enough to bring people into the city and they become like whatever, like huge STEM schools or whatever it might be, like that's a way that you can keep your population, because this population is going to suffer shortly. The problem ends up being right now is that once this money ends up leaving, there's only one option that we need to do, and it also could be a sign of resistance, is there are obviously property tax changes that need to happen. I'm looking at all my friends in Calorama, looking at all my friends in Tenleytown, all my friends in Glover Park, all my friends in Georgetown, all like,
Palisades, where they don't want Metro to go.
Yeah, hey, where you don't want Metro to go. Again, unfortunately now, especially since there's obviously a removal of this huge funding that came from the federal government offices and whatnot. Yeah, like tax laws have to change, obviously, and we've only passed one in the last, like, in my lifetime, to be honest, like a one meaningful one, and that was 3 or 4 years ago with the change in council folk. But yeah, that's obviously what needs to happen. But once you pass that, what happens when the federal government interjects
or seizes the money?
Yeah,
I mean, even if you ask the wealthy parts of DC to foot the bill to resist or to fight off or replace whatever gets left by the federal government, there is no telling that Congress wouldn't just intercede and snatch that shit clean out of the DC coffers. They could do that.
Yeah, so I mean and it goes back to the original point. You can erase this mural for it not to, I guess be a black eye, but it's not going to change the actual outcome of what's going to happen in this city, because that's baked in.
Well, here's some of the things that are happening, and this is kind of where we're going to get to, is that, you know, the Doge stuff and firing all these people, you're going to be shocked to find out that it's full of errors and it's all a lie and bullshit, right? Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency has deleted hundreds more claims from its mistake-plagued wall of receipts, erasing $4 billion in additional savings that the group said that it has made for U.S. taxpayers. Late Sunday night, the group erased or altered more than 1,000 contracts it had claimed to have canceled, representing more than 40% of all the contracts listed on the site. The deleted items included 5 of the 7 largest savings that it had claimed credit for just last week. At the same time, the group added about 1,000 additional canceled contracts worth smaller total savings. You know, they're not actually doing what they say they're doing. It's very Orwellian. Oh, we're making things more efficient. You're not. You're spending money, not saving money. You're lying about what you're doing. You're gumming things up. You're making the government function less well. All of that's what they wanted to do, right? This thing about efficiency is a lie. It's always been a lie. And the fact that I think it's kind of ridiculous that they're stupid enough to publish this stuff. They should just not. If I was Elon, I would not publish anything. I would just tell everybody, yeah, it's great. And if they go looking, you just tell them shut up. And like, what are they going to do about it? You know, if you're willing to lie about how many billions of dollars have gone to Ukraine, or how old people are getting Social Security, or the size of your crowd, or whether you fuck Stormy Daniels or not, just keep lying about everything else. Why pretend you're doing this? Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a great graphic.
Oh, that's so good.
The dog crap report. I'm sorry, Doge crap report. I forgot how to read. So
Department of Government Deficiency.
So among the largest claims to disappear, there was a $1.9 billion savings that the group said it had achieved by canceling an Internal Revenue Service contract for tech help. Before Sunday night, this had been the biggest single savings that, you know, they said, but the New York Times reported that the contract actually was canceled in November while Biden was president. There was $149 million savings attributed to canceling a contract that provided 3 administrative assistants at the Department of Health and Human Services. The entry on the site last week contained numerous errors, including a link to a different contract with a different company that did not involve administrative assistants or $149 million. On Sunday, that was removed. $133 million savings that the group said came from canceling U.S. Agency for International Development contract for work in Libya. The contractors, Chemonix International, posted last year on LinkedIn that its work on that contract had already ended. Also, these numbers are very small. You know, $1.9 billion. That's a rounding error at the Pentagon. What are you talking about here?
Where if you kept let's just say the money that's invested in the IRS, I forgot the stats on this, but like whatever, how many dollar amounts, like a $1 invested in, it's like, yeah, it's something insane. Exactly. So it's
they fired all the people at the IRS that collect all the taxes. I wonder why. If you filed your taxes already this year, you're an idiot. I'm waiting plenty time.
Well, thank you. I just filed mine on Tuesday.
I filed mine, and I already got my return back from DC.
Okay,
you got returned, you lucky bastard.
I
am figuring that the IRS won't exist, and I won't have to pay anything.
But no, because again, one thing that is clear in this country is that they will come get you for taxes.
Oh no. I can pass. I'll be fine. Charlie and I will be fine.
We're part of the Jewish conspiracy. We'll be fine.
Yeah. It'll all be great.
Okay. I also am adjacent to show business, so I will be fine.
Of course. That's fine.
He's like a quarter member of the tribe. He's good.
I was in New York 2 weeks ago. I went to the apartment building that my father lived in when he was a kid back in the 40s, and next to it is the synagogue where he was bar mitzvahed at. It was very interesting, and he dabbled in Orthodox Judaism for less than a year.
That's longer than most of us can manage. So that's
very true.
Tearing your toilet paper on a Friday afternoon is not as fun as it sounds. Okay. Now, Charlie did mention The Brutalist, which is a movie I had not seen, but I assume it's about the buildings in D.C. Speaking of which, Elon tried to sell all of them. So they posted an inventory of 443 federal properties to be sold, including the headquarters of the GSA, which is who posted this. The online list was initially attached to a news release on Tuesday outlining plans for, quote, decisive action to dispose of non-core assets, and singled out federal buildings that had become, quote, functionally obsolete and unsuitable for use by our federal workforce. Now, before I get to the punchline of this, it is worth saying a lot of these buildings are pretty old and in need of major upgrades and are about half full. And so there could be a reasonable effort made at revitalizing, consolidating, and dispossessing some of them. Okay. However, that's not what we're talking about. On Wednesday, the GSA's non-core property list was blank because they deleted.
We're not selling.
We're not doing this. Yeah, the online list was initially attached to that news release, but then they took it down. We're identifying buildings and facilities that are not core to government operations or non-core properties for disposal. It read. And then they edited it a little bit, and then they're like, nope, it's all gone. They were talking about selling buildings that were still occupied, of course, and had not talked to any of the agencies that lived in those buildings. And, also, there's a bunch of federal rules about getting rid of federal property. It takes a long time. There have to be auctions. There have to be public comment. There's all kinds of stuff.
Look at how long we've been dealing with RFK.
Yeah. It's like... It's laughable. These guys didn't even bother to look before they started smashing shit.
I went to the National Cannabis Festival last year that was being held at the fairgrounds outside RFK, and I had not been actually near RFK Stadium over a decade. Oh my God, there's grass growing out of the fucking sides of the thing.
Yeah. It looks terrible. But again, that's a good point. Like it is more difficult than they think. Since publishing the initial list on March 4th, we have received an overwhelming amount of interest, said the spokesperson. We anticipate the list will be published in the near future after we evaluate this initial input and determine how we can make it easier for stakeholders to understand the nuances of the assets listed. They said in a press release, the GSA will continuously review and update the list of non-core assets. Selling off underutilized federal properties is an idea pushed by Elon, but like we said, there's a lot of rules. Doesn't work that way, dummy. Just
have Congress change the rules. They got all the houses.
Yeah, right. Well,
but
they can't because their majority is one person, and getting that person to agree to whatever It is just that thing where it's like, when tech bros reinvent buses and think they're geniuses because they're like, what if we had a big car that a lot of people could ride in? You're like, oh, like a bus that we've had for 100 years, you fucking morons. Here comes Elon. It's like, well, obviously we just need to sell all these buildings. Like, hey, you fucking moron. We thought of that. There's just reasons we can't. Like all of them. They tried to sell the heat plant. All of these buildings have a central steam system, by the way, which I happen to know a lot about. And they produce high pressure steam, and then it travels through tunnels all through the city, and then it goes to steam stations that heat up these individual federal buildings. It's super efficient. If they sold the steam plant, they don't have heat at all, or hot water.
Then you privatize it,
which coincides with the plan to move all government functions to Florida.
God willing.
Yeah. Well, then you know what happens. Then that government will.
Because the only federal employee who should be able to work remotely is the president.
Marco Rubio.
Well, then the government will float away.
On a quick aside, how fun is it to watch Marco Rubio's soul slowly die?
Slowly, it's been a light speed. That guy's self-immolating in front of us.
It's one of the few things I take pleasure in.
How about sports? You want to talk about sports? Let's talk about sports.
Let's talk about sports.
All right, so the O's and Nats came to a deal over Masson. This is this weird thing where when the Expos moved to Washington, the Orioles rightly pointed out that, like, hey, that's half of our fan base you're stealing. And they worked out a deal where, like, all right, the Nats can exist, but they have to broadcast all their games on this network that's owned by the Orioles. Over time, it's supposed to sort of shift ownership and be a little more equitable. That never really happened. And
I always thought it was Mason, and I thought it was like Fairfax based. I thought it was like college based, and then I'm like, oh wow, this college network is showing all the Nats games.
Yes, definitely how that works.
How come? My question is, when you say that it's fair that they take the fan base, if there's revenue sharing, wouldn't it make more sense to have another TV contract? Because the Orioles are still going to benefit. It's stealing. If the revenue sharing worked that way, sure, but it doesn't.
And you might have a point, but I'm an Orioles fan, so fuck off.
Exactly. I'm like, hold on, what are you talking about? That's like fair. That's a great response. All right, I'm like, hold on. I'm like, what? Like, why wouldn't we want another huge TV deal in the MLB?
Because
there's a problem with that.
Yeah, the other deal would shrink, and it wouldn't be. It's not like you get twice as many fans. It's the same number of fans, so the deals are roughly the same size regardless. Just
stealing. It was been stealing, and it's just
all right. Regardless, this weird arrangement basically became a problem for the Lerners who wanted to sell the team because they couldn't have a TV deal. And once the Angelos family was out of the Orioles and Rubenstein bought the team, he was like, yeah, whatever, we can work out a deal. We'll get some money for another year, and then you guys can get your own TV deal. We'll release this thing, and we'll, reconfigure a few other things here and there. I think they came to an equitable deal. I think the Lerners want out. I think that's fine. Then they can go. We can see how well the Nats do with their own broadcast, and see how they do with their own selling their games to the cable systems or whatever. I don't know anybody.
No, there's a clear person who buys this.
Who
has a network?
Me? Leonsis,
exactly.
I mean, I have a network, but I don't think we can afford the Nats.
Yeah, I don't think we can afford the Nats. Maybe we cannot afford the Nats. But yeah, it's clear that this goes to Monumental, right? It's clear as day.
Well, that's another problem, though.
A partnership between that, and this might be a long-term ownership flip.
It would have to be that, though, because no cable system wants to broadcast. No cable system wants to pay to broadcast the Nats right now.
I think you guys are missing the point because because it's still live sports. It's still that, and live sports
really short amount of time out of the year. Like, it's not. What do you do for the other 6 months?
There's 100-something games that they're gonna play.
But this is where I think Masson has been failing, and I feel like a lot of people are missing the boat. If your main objective is to try to only show 162 games a year between two teams, the problem here is the fact is, like, what are you going to do with the rest outside of it? Meaning outside of its actual season.
Yeah, they struggle to get programming to fill the rest of the time.
So again, with the limited advertising, especially not just locally, you're pretty much losing a lot of money out of it. And I think Rubenstein is smartly enough to say, hey, all right, fine, let's get out of this deal, because he
extracted everything for the fucking last 15 years.
But the main thing here though is I think with baseball and its revenue sharing with especially when it comes to the TV deals, if you didn't really mention the fact that like getting out of ESPN was a really big deal. Yeah. And I really think that like now that kind of changes a lot of the spectrum of where Major League Baseball wants to present itself. I've read that Cleveland Indians, they're allowing themselves to be streamed on into the Guardians, whatever they want to call themselves nowadays. I want them to be called the Spiders. I don't know why they call themselves.
That's a better name, actually.
But anyway,
much better
the baseball Cleveland team was able to stream out their stuff, and I think that's where I think they want to fully lead into now. I think they want to stream out the baseball games, just like MLB is doing from time to time. I still to this day don't know why MLB is not, the network is not showing home team games. I really think that's a missed opportunity there. But again, I just feel like there are things now that I think baseball isn't really understanding how they're going to present their product nowadays, and that's why getting out of ESPN, going to some of the other streaming markets, and hopefully down the line, the Orioles and the Nats are going to do that. I don't think that for Ted Leonsis to getting another team to present themselves, mind you, it would look good. But really, it's just
he needs content on Monumental.
Right.
I get that, but then again, you're oversaturating in a field when you already got a lot, and really not. I mean, honestly, we know that the Wizards ain't doing shit. Your best bet is the Caps. Once they're done, you got that. Then you're mind you, you are filling in content in a sense. But the thing is like
summer's born on Monumental, man.
But here's the thing: are you watching stuff on Monumental?
Because it's boring. I don't know. I don't like the things that are.
But the thing is, here's the thing: not a lot of people are getting Monumental because they presented themselves to be more of like an app than being a channel on some.
Yeah, but people can stream it, and they can stream the Caps, and then they can stream the Wizards, and they do.
Right, but the thing, but the difficulty there is like not many people have that ability or know where they are. That's the real problem. So you're going to tell that it's like, hey, watch the Nats on Monumental. And it's like, okay, where's Monumental? It's not on my TV, even though you can say it's on the app, and the app doesn't work that much very well half the time.
I mean, yes. And I think this is how strong Masson was for me, right? The only streaming service I still use to this day is DirecTV Stream, and I've always used it. And they're the only one still to this day that broadcast Masson. And for me, I've went ahead and I've just dealt with the increasing fees because that's the only way I can watch that. If you tell whether it's Roku, whether it's Apple, Amazon, a combination of those, I'm going to go find the Nats where they're at. And if you put them on Monumental, I'm going to be watching Monumental.
Are you?
The product? Yeah. Because the product is the thing.
Okay. We're going to mark it at 223.40 and counting. If you can find Monumental, if the Nats go to Monumental, I want you to download it.
And Comcast Sportsnet too, if you have cable still. That's the channel.
Yeah, it's
not really, no, because that's been disappearing.
No, but the slot where HTS was on
is Monumental, right?
Where Monumental is now.
Yeah.
Channel.
Yeah, it's that.
I've got it. I've got two Monumentals actually.
Is there Monumental
too?
Yeah,
there's a Monumental too.
There's two.
There it is.
One for the Caps and the other for the Wizards when they both play at the same time, and no one goes to the Wizards.
And otherwise, it's showing like
Monumental
highlight or whatever. Yes. They do show live highlight games on Monumental, which is wild.
See, that's what ESPN used to be doing. They show highlight and Aussie rules
when they didn't have content, so that's fine. All right, whatever. It's a good deal for everybody. We've come to the end of the show. Debo's coming to DC. Hooray! I think we got a good deal on that. We didn't have to give up much.
Yeah, that's and more weapons.
Right, more weapons. Good.
More,
Coming to the end of the show. We're on time as per usual. About the writing. Oh, he's disappeared.
No, who? Oh,
Charlie. Where can everybody follow you on for your writings?
Well, I'm a contributor at Gold Derby, so you can go to goldderby.com and read my writings there. You can also see my writings on TwitX at Charles Bright.
There you go. Okay. And maybe Charlie will be hosting the Oscars next year. We'll see, depending on what happens.
Me and Conan, baby. We would be a great team.
Yeah, there you go. Tune in next week for the pre-shutdown when we'll have Matt Lasso, who covers The Hill and teaches at Johns Hopkins, on the show. Thanks to our radio partners, Kramer Books, U Street Lounge, and Smash Records. Thanks to NOTN for keeping us on for another week, we assume, although we have not checked. Thanks to our home on the interwebs, coplaymedia.com. And thanks, as always, to our family here at Beltway Radio for making us sound as smooth as Republicans flirting. All right, where can everybody get you on the socials, Tez?
You can find me on Blue Sky, DC Cortez.
All right, and you can find me and the show on the Twitter at ChipChatRR, although I don't really post anything there these days. You can find us on Facebook or Instagram at RipChipChat, and you can, of course, find us on Blue Sky at Chef Chip. You can find us every Thursday night here on Beltway Radio at 9:30, although next week we're going to be starting at 10 for various reasons. So if you tune in at 9:30, you'll just be sitting there waiting for us, but we will be on. And you can catch us otherwise most weeks at 9:30 here on Beltway Radio and beyond. I'm Chip. That's Charlie. That's Tez. Brian's in the corner somewhere. You've been listening to Chip Chat on Beltway Radio and beyond.
Sweeps.
Another chapter in history, another verse. Trump promises political violence, but no hearse. FTG and Shapiro try to rap, but don't rehearse. These right-wing nuts can't get any better, just worse. Tez and Chip out here trying to save the republic like Tez on the golf course. It ain't private, just public. When we have a drink in the bar, it's not beer, it's a public. It's hard to get something to rhyme with this subject. If we get famous, we can give a shout out to Brian. To get us out on time is what he be trying. The show is like a custom feathered avian that knows words. How can we stay late when our guest is Illy Bird? In conclusion, the message is to go out and serve folks, whether that's through art, music, or if you just tell jokes. Seek to medicate your ears, hope you eradicate your fears. Thanks for sticking with us through all these years.